Dial Models Workshop.
Hi, it's Yeji.
And Clint.
Hey, it's Larry. You are entering Models Workshop After Hours, a modeling podcast where we talk about miniatures, model painting, and we cuss a lot. If you can be offended, we're probably going to offend you. Then you're going to laugh, and you're going to feel bad. And then we'll offend you again, and then you'll laugh again. You see the pattern. So kick out, sit back, grab your brush, grab your paints, and get ready to have some fun. What's up, everyone, and welcome to the podcast where there are no fucks to give, and you have a co-host who really doesn't give a shit. Actually, that wouldn't be co-host, that'd be host. Well, whatever the fuck. I don't care. All right, so as many of you have noticed, like a few weeks ago, by the time this comes out, maybe a couple weeks ago, hell, maybe even yesterday, depending on how quickly we push these out, that we have been kind of dry on podcasts for a couple weeks, and that isn't because we haven't recorded them. We recorded them. I'm a slack ass who's going through a big bout of depression, who actually just hasn't got around to giving enough fucks to edit them. I apologize. Kind of. Going through a lot of personal shit. I know I've talked about it on the podcast before, about how she left, how she came back. Well, she left again, and it fucked me up a lot worse than the first time she left, and I have been sitting in a cloud of grump, no fucks given, and whatever. But anyways, off of the grumpy-ass, depressing shit...
Which is also why I dragged Larry back into here today.
Yes, I was sitting upstairs cleaning my living room because my sister messaged me today and told me she was coming into town tonight, which is totally badass, but the house, after having a broken leg for 2 months, 3 teenagers, and all this other shit, is kind of a wreck, so...
Yeah, that doesn't sound familiar at all, except for the, leg thing.
Yeah. The leg thing actually makes it that much worse, because you really can't do shit. So, actually, I wasn't sitting all depressed in a cloud of funk upstairs. I was actually doing the dish when Yeji's like, no, you come down now. No, now.
She doesn't talk like that.
Sometimes.
Just to prove a point.
My.
Yes, I do.
Oh,
Get her drunk or get her pissed. I have heard her both. She talks like that. Get her drunk and pissed? Oh, I'm so sorry. She's like the chick off of Police Academy.
Oh, God.
Nah, she's just really sleepy every time I've gotten her drunk. All one time.
But...
Yeah, speaking of drunks, I just got rid of my sister-in-law just left. And that was fun. Sort of. I kind of just stayed in my hobby room, and they sat out and did not much.
Oh.
But drink.
So, a little bit of good news. This last week, I actually received the okay to wear soft shoes, which for people who are not military are translated into standard sneakers, or trainers, or boots, or whatever the hell you want to wear in your normal footwear. I can wear normal fucking shoes, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But I can wear soft shoes now. If I need to, I can wear an ankle brace, which I probably should be if I could find it. But
no rollerblades.
At least not until the new year starts and my short-term disability resets, because I have used it all for this year.
Oh boy! You know the funny thing is, I actually told Larry to be careful when that happened. And he's like, oh, I'll be fine. I was a great rollerblader when I was younger. I'm like, you're not 20 anymore, Larry. And the next thing that happens, kaboom.
Yeah. I didn't want to say anything when it happened either, but...
Yeah, next thing she sees is a picture of me in the hospital with my ankle about the size of a fucking tree.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Larry, but I laughed.
Note to self, folks, do not pin your leg this way.
Hey, the doctor did a great job of pinning. Thank you very much for what he was given.
Oh, well, sure, he better for that amount of money.
Is it still seeable?
Oh, yeah, it'll be seeable for the rest of my life. It's a titanium plate, Clint. It's not going to shrink.
Well, no, but, the last time you showed it, it's, very obvious that there's a freaking plate there.
Yeah,
I have really thin ankles. I'll take... Okay, so for probably the thumbnail on this podcast, I'll have a left ankle and a right ankle picture to show you kind of how thin my ankles are. So, yeah,
He has dainty ankles.
I really do. My right ankle...
Watch out, you're going to make people
My
hot.
right ankle is noticeably larger than my left ankle now. And it's not... it's for two reasons. One, it's swollen, and the doctor was like, oh, you'll have that for the rest of your life. Thanks, doc. And two, he put a pretty good-sized titanium plate and screws. Like, you can actually... If you touch it, you can feel the screws in it.
Oh, dude, that's just wrong.
And, like, whenever you look at it, if you look at it the right ankle, instead of having that round little nub at the bottom, I have this big triangle, or this big rectangle that comes all the way up my leg before it finally disappears in the skin. That's... No, actually, if you look at it at the right angle going down, you can actually see the plate going down, too.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez, that's just good. So, don't kick Larry in the ankle.
I will
Gotcha.
probably punch you in the face even if you have a vagina if you do. Which, with
Yep.
Gildy, that's still up for debate.
Hey, just because I haven't sent you any pictures.
Not that, it's just, like, you can make a fucking sailor blush. You even make me go for pause, and it's like, she just, what? Oh, okay.
Okay, so wait a minute. So cussing has to do... No, it has nothing
It's
to
not
do
the
with
cussing. Yeji cusses. It's your sense of humor and your absolute vulgarity. That's what makes me go,
it. Wow, I'm just... That's such a compliment coming from you, Larry.
There's been a couple times. I call you the Larry with a vagina for a reason. It's not because, you look like me, because you don't. It's because you have, of all the people I know, you have
Yeah,
probably
I'm still
the
trying to grow that
closest to my
beard.
sense of humor there is.
That's hilarious. You should meet my brother sometime. It would be fun.
One of these days I might. I'm not going to finish what I said because that would sound so wrong. So wrong.
Well, it doesn't matter. They're all like fucking introverts or whatever anyway, so it's not like they'd be probably going anywhere.
No, what I was about to say is, well, I am single now, meaning I can travel whenever I want. How it would come across was, you have a brother. I'm single now. Let me go and...
Yeah, I'm sorry, but my brother Dave is already engaged for quite a while. I mean, they're not married or anything, but
married.
he's been with this guy for a while, so I don't think he's probably going to break up.
Oh,
But if he does, I'll let you know.
damn, that kind of ruins the entire joke because he is actually gay. Oh, damn. Yeah, so folks, for anyone who's been wondering where the fuck we've been, by the time you get to this, we should be back on track. I apologize. It was me. You'll probably have another mini podcast coming out with me going, forgive... No, you probably won't. I'm just going to be like, look, this is what happened. If you can't deal with it, tough shit. Everyone has a tough time.
I've had a lot of friends that are going through a lot of shit right now. It seems to be going around. I mean, just like 3 or 4 different people with some major crap going on in their life.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, a friend of the podcast and fan of the podcast, Joe, actually, his mother just passed away. And, man, it's crazy because his mother and my mother and me and him had a lot of the same dynamic with each other. And it's him talking about, like, the stuff he's going to miss has really fucking hit me in the feels real hard because
Aww.
it's almost exactly the same shit that I miss with my mom, too. And it's like, man, I literally know what you're going through because I literally went through the exact same thing. He talks about him talking about books with his mom. Me and my mom used to talk about books. Talking about... talking about movies, and that was a big thing. For anyone who's listened to this knows I love movies and I love television. I love that type of stuff, and I always try to find even good and even what people consider really bad films, and there are a few that are unredeemable, but
Troll 2.
Troll 2 is so bad it's good.
Yeah, there's actually quite a lot. I mean, there's a lot to be said for B-rated movies anyway. I like
it's
them
not
a
even...
lot.
I'm talking like, okay, the prime example is the movie Freddy Got Fingered. One, I don't like Tom Green anyways, at all. I think he's horrible. He is not funny at all. and he has a movie that's basically the Fred of Tom Green. And, I mean, it's so bad, it's been, what's the word I'm looking for? Eminem sang about it. I mean, Eminem called that movie out in a song, which is,
Wow.
He says something, it's one of his first albums, and he goes, but it's okay for Tom Green to fuck a dead moose. Or hump a dead moose. And because that happens in the movie. It's a horrible, horrible movie. Like, it's so bad. So bad. And oddly enough, a lot of the times if I don't like a movie, it's for completely different reasons than other people don't like movies. And, like, a lot of people hated The Last Jedi. I hated The Last Jedi for different reasons than what other people did. People are like, I didn't hate it. Well, they're like, I don't like the character Rose. I thought she was cool.
Yeah.
I thought the character Rose was pretty badass. They didn't like...
It has to be a really fucking bad movie for me to actively engage hatred, because that requires effort.
Right. And then
God, people, just because Rose is Asian doesn't mean that you have to hate her.
I thought her character was actually good. I thought she was one of the few redeeming qualities of the movie. And honestly, I joke...
She was certainly unique,
She was.
I thought.
And, okay, so, like, I make a lot of jokes about Jar Jar because that's a cool thing to do. But honestly, Jar Jar Binks was not the worst part of the first movie.
No,
It was absolutely Anakin. I hated that character. I hated everything about that character. I thought he was annoying. I thought that how he was portrayed was dumb. And honestly, a lot of the scenes that were introduced in that movie just to sell video games pissed me off. And then...
Hey, Pod Racer was a good movie. I mean, it was a good game.
Might as well... It was a great game, but I didn't need gameplay footage in the fucking movie itself.
Oh,
Speaking of
I don't know. I
movies,
enjoyed
Larry,
that part.
Why don't you have Inception on Vudu?
I do have Inception on Vudu. It must not be Ultraviolet.
Because Yeji was trying to find it, and she's like,
Oh,
why does Larry not have this?
Yeji's actually fucking watching what's considered a pulp culture movie. Holy shit.
Dude, I love Inception.
How was Inception pulp culture? Just because it was
Because it was a really
popular
big
or
movie,
whatever?
so it's part of pulp.
Yeah.
Okay, for me, a
don't
movie
know.
that's part of pulp culture is anything that has an impact on it. Like, people make reference to the movie, and you know what it mean, or what the movie is, or you know about it. Like Seven, what's in the box? It's a meme. It's classic. Everyone knows what it is. What's in the box? Another one, Inception, The Rings. Spoiler. Turn it off if you haven't managed to watch Inception yet. Shame on you. The ring spinning. That's, if you see something that continuously moves when it shouldn't. Oh, we're in the dream. And then, like Ninja Turtles 2. Go Ninja, go. That has a major impact on pulp culture. And that's what big movies are. Like Ghostbusters, Back to the Future. All of this stuff had a major impact on pulp culture.
Well, and I guess part of the thing is, for me, is there's now a lot more nerd stuff, or whatever you want to call it, in sci-fi, in the whole pop culture
there
thing.
always has
'Cause
been. Most of the pop culture has been Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, even Indiana Jones, Star Wars. These are all iconic pulp culture nerd movies that have had a major impact. And that's just how it is. It could be a single scene in the movie. It could be the entire movie. I could sit here and go through and just list off iconic scenes in movies. The Matrix. Anybody who defies physics and does, or looks like they defy physics, we're in the Matrix. Or if there's a glitch, there must be a glitch in the Matrix. That wasn't a saying before the Matrix came out. Now it is. If something kooky happens, that was a glitch in the Matrix. And it had an impact on what we are, because we know what that means. People are alluding to the fact that we're living in a simulation. And If you want a good example of this, funny enough, go watch Ready Player One, because it rolls almost all of these culture references into a single movie. And I know some people are pissed off that it didn't follow the same pop culture scenery as the book did. I don't. I think it's great because...
I thought it did fine.
I think it was great because, one, they made it where most of the people who would be watching it would have an idea. Yes, I knew what the shit was in the book because I'm old, but for the movie, you're aiming for a different demographic. You're aiming for those 14 to 24-year-olds, so they had to put shit in like Halo, the new Ninja Turtles, which did kind of piss me off.
The book was also aiming at 14 to 24, just saying.
Yes, but the references...
I think it was a little bit...
They could explain the references a little bit more in the book.
Well, yeah, and visually it's a different thing too. But I think of the book as a little bit more like the Disney thing, where you have all the stuff for the kids, but at the same time there's stuff that in there clearly that is nodding at the adult and winking.
Yeah, it is there, but also the director came right out and said he made blatant changes between the book and the movie because he said that he wanted the people who had read the book to be able to sit down and watch the movie and still enjoy themselves. Make it where it was the same enough that they would be able to enjoy the movie and they would know ultimately what the outcome is. And anyone going into that movie knows what the outcome is. They're going to win because that's what these type of movies are.
Yeah, I mean, right.
But they changed enough where it wasn't like I was watching, oh, okay, then this happens and then this happens and this. But they kept it true enough to the source material, at least in flavor, that it was still there. And I thought it was exceptional. I love the book. I love the movie. I've seen the movie. I bought it. I didn't get a chance to watch it in theaters, but since I've bought it, I've watched it like 5 or 6 times. And the great thing about this movie is every time you watch it, you will see something new. You will see something new that you didn't.
Those are the fun ones.
That you didn't see the first time, and you're like, oh shit, there's that. And some stuff's up in your face, and you're just like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But some stuff is so low key that if you're not paying attention, you're gonna be like, hold up a second, let me watch this again. Did I miss? Oh, okay. And there's shit that I'm sure that I still haven't seen. You could probably watch that movie a couple dozen times and still find something new.
That's exactly what Inception's like.
Exactly. Inception is like that too. But yes, that's what I mean by a movie that is...
Well, I was I think it's probably a lot because of the cast, for the movie, and the visuals were so good. But I think that I was kind of surprised it was quite as popular as it was, because a lot of times I've run into this thing where people don't really want to have to think about the plot that much. And in a way, Inception was great because you could just watch it and not really have to think about it and kind of still follow along, or you could get really in depth because I like the more, I don't know, like 12 Monkeys is really good and stuff like that, where you're not really sure what the fuck's actually happening until the end.
And even then, you're still going, did I miss
and
something?
Then you're watching it a couple more times, and you still change your opinion each time you watch it.
Every single time you watch it, you're just like, you're coming up with this new opinion on what the movie is supposed to be.
Right. Oh, those are awesome.
A music artist that actually does that too and it blows my mind, and I didn't actually realize this until recently, but 21 Pilots. Yeah. They are like if you just listen to his music, it's good. But if you actually listen to his music and read like some of his blogs, you'll realize that most of his songs are actually interwoven. Like the song Blurry Face, that actually is a persona of the lead singer. It's his when he's anxious and he has anxiety, and it's relatable, just like they just had a brand new song called Nico and the Niners come out. And he also had another song called Jumpsuit come out. And Jumpsuit is what he wears to, I believe, help him get over his anxiety. And Nico and the Niners are actually the physical manifestations of his anxiety. His nine triggers, or the 9 things that bother him. And he's kind of assigned these personas to them. And it's the song Nico and the Niners, and he talks about... And just even that song, he talks about how I've listened to this song probably 24 times since it came out, like yesterday, or is it the day before? I've lost track. I think it was the day before. And he talks about how his jumpsuit makes him, or he's lighter when he's low, he's heavy when he's high, and he talks about how his jumpsuit takes him higher, which to me means the jumpsuit that he wears is actually really heavy, but since heavy makes him higher, and it's just crazy. And I'm just sitting there listening to this shit, and I'm just like, whoa. And I found out why he wears the black makeup around his neck and his hands, because whenever he's out there, his anxiety makes him feel like he's being attacked in his hands and his neck. So the black face paint is kind of his armor. And that's one of those things where if you listen to it, it just has that really cool flow to it, and it's really entertaining. But if you listen to the words on it, you can get this really super fucking deep message that intertwines with multiple albums. And that's just nuts.
I haven't listened that close.
Yeah.
I haven't actually I just started listening to them, so...
I knew that Blurry Face was a song about growing up and the anxiety of growing up and everything else. I knew that individual song because I could relate to it. I really could because of my anxiety problems and everything. But I never realized that Blurry Face mixed with Nico and the Niners and mixed with Jumpsuit and mixed with all these other songs in a way that actually wove this very intricate story until I actually pulled up, I think it was a Reddit thread or something like that, and they were discussing it, and it wasn't, it's not one of those fan theories. It's kind of actually proven. The guy's come out, he's written hidden letters that you actually have to go and try to find, and if you do, it talks about some of these things that people have figured out in his songs, and it is crazy. Or like I said, you can literally just listen to it and that's it. You don't have to go super stupid with it. You can just listen to it, enjoy the music, or you can listen to it and write a freaking PhD thesis on the damn thing.
Well, and even just the lyrics themselves too, like not even without the letters or whatnot. They have they're not like the pop songs like nowadays,
No, they're very storyful. They tell a story, and if you actually listen to them, they can get deep. And there's a few artists out here, and I mean very few artists out here that actually do that nowadays. You've got J. Cole, who whenever he raps, he actually gives a story. You got people like Logic, who does the same. You got NF, who just recently, he's a Christian rapper that made it really big, and all of his stuff tells this really deep story about his big hit was a story about him and his father and how he doesn't have a lot of love for his dad and everything. But honestly, it's few and far between. Back in the 70s and the 60s, a lot of songs told stories, and that art has kind of went away.
Yeah, that's the same way I feel a little bit about the country music of late, it's gone away from some of the folklore, kind of Johnny Cash roots towards more just, I don't know, popular shit.
Yeah, and...
Same old thing.
Right, because even songs like Way Down Yonder, even the song Chattahoochee still told a story about summer fun and going out and everything else. And you don't have that. And I understand that sometimes you just want to listen to a song and just enjoy it in its simplicity and its stupidity. I have my guilty pleasures of music that other people probably don't, that I really enjoy. And everyone does.
And then there's the ones you listen to, and you actually listen to the lyrics and realize you don't actually like this damn song anymore.
There are those songs too, because you listen to them and you're just like, oh shit, this is deep and this is dark, and I really can't listen to this anymore. But then you find those ones that you listen to and you're just like, this is amazing, this is awesome, and you just keep listening to it, and you're driving everyone mad, and you're just like, why? They're like, why are you listening to this 20 times in a row? And it's like, you need to listen. Don't listen to it. Listen to it, because you can.
Like every Tool song ever.
Yeah, and that can be said about... Okay, there's several artists that you could... Korn. Korn is a good example where they have a lot of meaning kind of hidden in their lyrics. Now, do they have their simple dumb stuff? Yeah, they do, and that's fine.
Adidas.
Yeah.
Well, and I kind of think Muse, too.
Muse is a perfect example. Placebo is another one that has that's really good about that as well. And it's crazy if you go back even further in time and you listen to some of these songs that you're thinking are poppy and upbeat and everything, just what their exact meanings are, and you're just like, fuck this. Holy shit, this is like a lot of Queen songs have that. They're really upbeat and da-da-da-da, and they have this really, really dark meaning. And then there's Queen songs that literally the lead singer has no fucking clue what the hell he was talking about when he made them.
I kind of remember, Mom and Dad used to listen to folklore and a lot of stuff, but also, I don't even know what the category is. Probably more in the blues. I can't think of the name of the band, but all I remember is we'd listen to this, and it was really cool, and it was kind of catchy, and then as an adult, I listened to it again, and I'm like, holy crap, that's about pedophilia.
Yeah, and it's just
like, okay,
like listening to some of Cher's older stuff, like was it Gypsies, Rogues and Thieves? Gypsies, something and Thieves. But yeah, and it's crazy. They talk about being run out of town. Their mom used to be a dancer or a stripper, depending on how you listen to it, just to make a little money for them. And the dad would sell bullshit cures to people to make a buck here or a buck there. And how Cher, her persona in there, hooked up with this older kid, and they were shagging in the back of the wagon, like literally in the wagon. And her dad would kill him if they found out. It's like crazy if you actually listen to the lyrics. You're just like, oh, okay.
I'm not familiar with that song.
Really?
I'm not familiar with a lot of Cher things, though.
Actually, it's one of my favorite Cher songs. It's back from, I don't know if it was the 60s or 70s. It's an old song. But it was back when she had the big, huge, bushy fro and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So, what are you guys working on?
Yep, 30 minutes into the podcast, all we've done is talk movies, and, this is like when 90% of our listeners have already turned this shit off. We finally get to the hobbies. Mine is pretty easy. I have been working on... Yep, that's all.
Oh, Lord.
I need to get back into this. The one saving grace of the wife moving out and into our own apartment is I can take my painting studio and processing studio upstairs. So I can actually have everything hooked into through the TV and have a super fucking huge mega studio. I guess I can. I'm trying to make a damn positive. Okay.
Well, hey, that's a positive. It's tough. I'm waiting on boys to move out before I can do a lot of rearranging of shit. But anyway. No,
actually, I lied. I've been playing some board games. We played... Damn, what was the name of that board game? Betrayal on House on the Hill?
Oh,
yeah.
I bought that a couple months back, and we finally broke it out. And I'll tell you what, the rule book... It was deadly boring while we were listening to the rule book, but once we are trying to read the rule book. But once we finally got into the game itself and started playing it, it's amazing. To the point where I actually found the expansion on Walmart of all places for like $12, and I was like, you know what?
Ooh.
Yeah. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Mine.
I find a lot of those playthrough videos are even in, like I'll glance at the rule book and do a playthrough video. Like we've got one game from a Kickstarter that it's a great game. I really like it, but they didn't have very good English translation, and so the rules are actually quite difficult in spots. And we've kind of just added our own shit because we couldn't figure it out.
Right.
And as far as I know, there's not a playthrough video on that one. But anyway, I can't remember the name. Damn it. It's a good game, though. But
No, I highly recommend the Betrayal in the House on the Hill. It's really neat. And the reason I will probably not open the expansion for a hot minute, because the expansion adds another 50 things to the are they called? The betrayals. They add another 50 betrayals, and I think there's like 30 something in the main book.
So I go hang out with some friends on Saturdays, and we play board games and stuff. We brought that one out, and I guess we must have just got fucked, because the freaking after the betrayal happened and the game changed the way it's randomly going to change depending upon when everything kicks off or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was unwinnable for the people that weren't betrayed.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was unwinnable. Like, we sat down and we were thinking about this, we're like, we literally cannot beat him. He has everything needed to beat us.
Yeah, that's kind of... We could have beat the scenario, but it is a little bit of luck, because you don't know who's gonna be the betrayer. And okay, so the general premises is it's an explore game, and you start at the front door. It's kind of like almost like a Clue, and you're walking through this house and you're discovering different things. And as you discover different things, events happen whenever you walk into a room, or omens happen, or you find items. And it's completely random. You take the stack of character tile, or the location tile, shuffle them up, and as you're exploring, you just find these things. Events happen. Events happen in most rooms. Some rooms trigger omens. Every time you trigger an omen, you have to make an omen check on 6 dice. If you roll underneath the amount of omens that have been revealed, someone becomes the betrayer. And they have... Basically what you do is you have to take what room triggered the betrayal, what room triggered the omen that triggered the betrayal, and what item actually triggered the betrayal. Like if you have the ring and it was in the graveyard, which is not true, because I don't think the graveyard triggers an omen. But if it was the ring in the graveyard, you actually open this book with this huge freaking chart. You find it, match it up, and it tells you what scenario you're going to play. We played scenario 28. And usually the scenario has something to do with the item that's found. And then after that, you have 2 different books. You have the heroes, and then you have the betrayed, or the betrayer. The betrayer reads the scenario in the betrayer book for that number, and the heroes read the deal. And the betrayer book actually goes, you do this, these are the enemies you use, this is the big bad guy that you use, this is how you win the game. And same with us.
Cool.
It's crazy. It is fucking... And you can still explore after you've triggered the betrayal. And like I said, we only played once. Technically, I think we can play up to 40 times, and the ending will be different each individual time. And with the expansion, it adds another 50, so that's 90. You can play this game 90 times with an ending that's different. And I'm sure if I go hunt around, I'm pretty sure I could probably find some fan-made betrayals somewhere out there. You know, I did also pick up Gloomhaven. I found a copy of it.
Oh, cool!
I found a copy of it in my local gaming shop, and I traded some of my Magic cards.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I traded for people who play Magic. I've traded 4 Noble Hierarchs, which technically that's $280 in value. Oof. Yeah, but they've been sitting in my binder for over a year, and I only paid.
And Gloomhaven's not cheap.
No, it's $140 game.
50 something? Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can find it, it's a $140 game. If you can find it. It's exceptionally sold out everywhere and has been for months and actually the last year. And it's also the #1 graded on Board Game Geeks. And the reason I did it is I bought the Noble Hierarchs for $25 a piece. They're almost at $100 a piece now.
Nice.
Right. But here's my thing. When cards start spiking up in value like that, I'm looking that they're probably going to be reprinted. So in a nutshell, I paid $25 a piece for them last time they were reprinted, so I had $100 in value wrapped up into them. I got a game that I would, if I was in better financial situations right now because of, broken leg, I would pay $140 for, no problem. I have not heard a single bad thing about this game. Everybody has said amazing things about it. It's the number one game on Board Game Geeks in every category that it happens to be judged in. So I had no. Just
to point out, Miniature Market has it for $140, and they have
It's
currently 20 in stock.
It's actually finally starting to not flood the market, but it's actually available. Like for a year solid, it was not available anywhere.
Yeah, I think
my local gaming.
January, I think you couldn't find it.
Yeah, no, you couldn't.
My Game Store has one.
Right, they're actually out now. So if you order one, you can put it on the shelf. It got to the point where if you ordered 20, you'd get 2. And my local gaming shop said the record before this last shipment that a copy of Gloomhaven sat on their shelf was 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. And also, shout out to the Wizard's Keep, Muncie, Indiana, which is one of my local gaming shops. I've known David for years now, years, and he's a really good guy. And so the way I figure is if he manages to sell all the Noble Hierarchs for their value, and it gives him some wiggle room too. He can be like, if you pay $60 a piece, I'll sell you all 4. It gives him some wiggle room, and I know for a fact he only probably paid $80 for Gloomhaven. So it makes it where, in a roundabout way, I'm contributing to keeping his store open because I took an item and I gave him probably one of the most popular cards in Modern.
Everybody's happy. That's what's important.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I could have sold them for more if I would have eBayed them, but that's just a fucking headache. And honestly, he had it sitting on his shelf. I wanted it. And he's like, "I'll give you $35 trade for each of them."
Nice.
And I'm probably gonna get an angry message going, "I would have given you 50 each for them." And I looked at it and I was like, that's 70, that's 140. And I looked over at I literally looked from the cards, looked over at the Gloomhaven, looked back at him and go, is that for anything in the store or is that only Magic cards? He's like, oh no, you can get anything you want in the store. I was like, oh.
Yeah, our local place does just in-store credit for that. I mean, it's not high value, obviously, unless the cards are... I haven't yet sold a decent card, so I wouldn't know how much he's going to actually give me for that. But they're, it's still worth it for some stuff. And I probably should have
finagled for a slightly higher trade-in because I was getting store credit and not cash.
Oh, yeah.
But like I said, David's a good guy. I'm not going to bitch about it. I got exactly what I wanted. I traded in something that's literally been sitting dormant because I bought them for Infect, and effectively Infect is dead.
Yeah.
And even when it wasn't, I didn't like playing that deck.
People hate Infect.
I didn't even like playing it at tournaments. I'm just like, this is such a shit ass deck. I'd rather play my either Elves, which is a tier 2 deck, or even tier 3.
I think they need to balance it, but I can see how it gets not fun quickly.
Well, it either wins in 3 turns or it dies miserably. It's a one and done type deck. And I had no interest in playing humans, which is why Noble Hierarchs have such a high value. Because 5-color humans is one of the big decks in Modern, and I have no interest in playing it, even though I literally owned every big card for it. It's like a $1,700 deck, and I had $1,300 of the card in the deck. So I was like, I could build it pretty cheap, but I have no interest in playing that type of deck. So I was like, fuck it. I'll play my pointy ear bastards because that's what I enjoy.
Speaking of pointy-eared bastards, I'm still drooling about those Deepkin. Oh my god, the GW Idoneth's Deepkin, they're so beautiful. They're just the new models that they have coming out. The only thing that worries me is not so much the putting it together, because they've gotten a lot better about that. Although the people that were complaining about how hard some bits and pieces were here and there to put it together, the first thing that came up in the Twitter threads was, haha, allow me to show you Malifaux. But, yeah, it was like, we were like, oh no, dude, you have no idea. They're like, oh, look at this. And You said, no, you don't understand pain. But anyway, they're beautiful models, but the contact points, those worry me a little bit. Not so much for stability of the model, because those are balanced beautifully, but the whole storage. It's something you're probably going to want to get one of those Magna racks for, I think, because there is no getting those in and out of foam without probably breaking something off. I have a hard enough time with my son's Drukari. Oh my god. All those...
And I think the same thing's going to happen with Night Haunts, too, just because they're gorgeous models.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of spindly bits, though, so foam probably isn't going to be a good choice for them. So something magnetized or different levels of keeping them on, so there's nothing surrounding them, but they're not moving one way or another.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. The only problem I've had so far with doing the actual magnets is don't use the neodyne, whatever, the new magnets.
No.
Neodymium.
Yeah, thank you.
No.
God, because those are actually
whenever I built one, we use just a normal sheet magnet, and then you just cut it and put it onto the base, and it was done. It was just enough to keep them from moving.
Yeah.
But it wasn't hard enough to pull them off, and you got model, and the base was still on the
Yeah, because some of my early Orcs or Skaven were done that. I did that way, because that's what magnet I had, and I was already using a washer for the weights, and then I went to put them on basically I just set them on a steel plate, a sheet that I had, and yeah, they pulled off because they're too strong.
Yeah.
Between the super glue and the model. Unless you could pin them, there's ways around it, but it's just better to use a regular magnet.
Well, here's a clue to people who are buying neodymium magnets. For one, if you want to lower the magnetic field of a neodymium magnet, make it where it doesn't sit on the surface, because surface contact is what really causes the neodymium to really stick. So if you have it where it's just a fraction of a millimeter into the base, it'll stick, but it won't stick. Also, the size of the magnet also debates on what type of magnetic force that it exerts. So if you're wanting to use neodymium magnets to sit on, to drill into your base and have it like a magnetic sheet, what you can do, instead of using a 3mm neodymium magnet, which has a really hard pull, instead use a 1mm, and by using a 1mm you can actually double up to give it more stability, or even triple up to make like a triangle pattern to even make it a little sturdier. Also, look at what type of N grade of neodymium magnet you're buying. N52 is the strong ones, but you can get all the way down, I do believe, to N32 magnets, which have a much less magnetic force. Like the website that I use, K&J Magnetics, you can actually on every single magnet look at what its pull strength is for magnet to magnet and single magnet pull. So you can actually go, okay, well, for this model, I don't need a lot of pull because it doesn't weigh a lot, so I can use a 1mm by 1mm by 1mm or 1mm cubed magnet, and it'll be fine. But this one's actually a little heavier, so I either need to use 2 or 3 magnets, or alternately, I need to put a 2mm cubed, or even a 3mm, or a 3mm by 3mm by 1mm. And you can actually factor that stuff in. So you can use neodymium magnets. You just have to be smart about it and actually do a little bit of research. Like I said, K&J Magnetics, they ain't paying us, but I love their products, have for 20 years now, and it's literally the only place I buy. I laugh when people say, go to eBay. Fuck that noise, because you don't know what you're getting unless you buy off a reputable dealer. And honestly, if I'm going to pay the prices that the good sellers on eBay charge me, I'm just going to go to K&J Magnetics, because then I can go, I need 1mm radii by 1mm thick neodymium magnets in N52 or N42, or alternately I need a donut magnet that has a hole in the middle because I want to run a brass rod through the magnet to make a pegs for stability, and the magnet holds. And they have all those products there. They have squares, they have rounds, they have countersunk magnets, and yes, these are magnets that I use in magnetizing models.
Great
for the Warhound.
For finding all those for finding all the resin stuff. Like, I had to order off them for my Deradeo because I didn't have the right size for the what was I doing the missile launcher, I think it was.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. You can pay if you pay for quality. A lot of the times, if you're buying cheap, especially with something like magnetics or with especially stuff like magnets, then you're going to get more than likely a bad product. Something that doesn't have they're neodymium rare earth magnets, but they're N32, so they have a shit pull. They're not good magnets. Whereas you could have paid just a little bit more or even less because you would have been able to get a smaller magnet with a higher pull and bought N52 magnets instead. Or, K&J actually has done the research to tell you exactly what things are. You can look at it and go, oh, this 1 millimeter or this 3 millimeter by 1 millimeter magnet has a pull of 2 pounds.
I do like the rare earth magnets are smaller, so that's cool. But you do got to not use the really, really, really big or the really strong ones on your infantry models when you want to put them on a sheet so you can pick them up again. I wish I had learned that earlier, but hey, they're facing experiments. There you go.
Now, the one complaint I do have about Betrayal is the clips that are included with the character sheets are horrible. You can heat them up and bend them in a little bit to grip the cards a little better. You can put a little bit of Scotch tape on the character cards to make them go a little better. But they are awful. I'm actually asking a friend of mine to 3D print some custom ones that I found because of how bad they are. It actually affected gameplay because you would bump the table and the card would slide and the thing that's supposed to be keeping track of your damn stats would move.
Yeah, I haven't found. Seems like the token industry and the clips and stuff like that is a really good third market because a lot of the games I've had they're just kind of those bits and the little, not so much if they're like that cardboard stuff that they use, for tokens and things, but if they're plastic, they're just kind of crap. Yeah,
and ultimately that is ultimately I would say that is my only complaint with this game. And truly, that is. That and don't try to play it on a small table. Word of warning. Don't pull out a card table and try to play this game, because that map gets really fucking big. I played it on it is definitely a dining room table game. Don't try to play it on something small. So, once everything gets stabilized, I think me and the kiddos are actually going to pull out Gloomhaven and we're going to start playing it. Nice. I think that it's good. Yeah, that's going to be pretty amazing.
That's going to be cool. I'm sad my guys they don't want to play board games much anymore.
Sell it to them as it's D&D except in board game form.
I know, and I'm trying, but they're, they've got one that's into girls and, stuff. So it kind of takes away his time. And then one of them's going off to college, which is going to be sad for me because he's my main Magic and 40K player. So I'm like, shit, who am I going to play now? I have to actually work harder on dragging my husband into the game.
You know what we need to do is we'll set up the fucking Skype cameras and
there you go.
We'll play over Skype. Some people do it, and once I get everything moved upstairs, I will actually have the rig for it. I don't know if you'll like playing me after the first couple of games, but why not?
Yeah, a couple of games would be fine. Yeah, sure, I can get my ass beat a few times.
Yeah. I was thinking about doing that with some friends with Kingdom Death, but we just never got around to doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's another game that takes up a ton of real estate.
Yeah. And honestly, okay, funny story. So, my friend, I guess, is a bit of a masochist, even though he's like a super nice guy, or is a masochist by proxy, because he had a quote-unquote extra copy of Dark Souls laying around, and he gave it to my son. So, I never knew, I saw the board game. I've actually held the miniatures, and I completely sympathize with everyone who's been waiting for years for their add-ons to finally come in. But I've seen the base game, and the miniatures are actually, for being board game miniatures, look great. And the gameplay looks awesome. I've heard a lot of good things about the gameplay. but I didn't understand it whenever the box was first open and there's a big banner that says you died. I was like, what the fuck is this? and Joe was like, well, trust me, in Dark Souls you see this often. I was like, okay, whatever. So fast forward to like this last week, and he's been playing that game, and I totally get the joke now because I have seen like you died plastered across the screen of the TV so many times.
Oh Lord! Oh Lord!
Yeah, speaking back on Age of Sigmar stuff, I will be streaming my painting of that. I found out OBS has a built-in noise gate, so I can actually airbrush without it sounding like I'm blowing straight into the microphone.
Oh, cool.
So
Shush.
I
only did that
doing that
3 or 4 times.
Are you doing the starter box or the night haunts or?
I'm doing the night haunt because that's the army I chose.
Cool.
It'll be the starter box plus the things I wanted in my army.
Cool.
So I'm doing a pretty simple color scheme. The majority of it's going to be airbrushed. Some details done with brushing, but I want this to be like a 90% airbrush army.
Have you guys played with those new colors then? The technical paints? They got the Hex Wraith Flame, and I'm holding them here so I can look at the title.
No,
Nighthawk
I'm actually
Blue.
not.
That's it.
Quite well. The Gloom one might be handy, but the 3 colors I'm going to use are Frostbite from P3, Vallejo Game Color, like Night Blue or Dark. So I think it's like Night Blue, and then
Imperial Blue?
No.
Or Night Blue.
Night Blue.
That's almost a black.
Yeah, it's pretty close to black. It's really, really dark.
Oh, it's like that blue-black.
And then, yeah, kind of. It's a little bit more on the blue scale than it is black, but if you just keep layering it and layering it and layering it, it can get really, really dark. It's not like coal black from P3, where that's more on the black side.
Interesting.
And then, my middle color in between all of that is... I forgot. I've only done 2 models, and I'm trying to remember what freaking color I had. Oh, what was it? I'm gonna have to look. I think it was, I think it might be Arcane Blue from P3.
Oh, I've heard that one's pretty. I like blues. I got on from Epic Duck, Mike. I got their blue-white. Where is it? For crying out loud, yeah, Frostbite. Very descriptive, Frostbite, yeah. It's a really nice, when you're trying to do like a bluish, cold white color or something, for snowy stuff, like some of the, Malifaux stuff. I like it a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sitting here doing, actually, right now, Sector Mechanicus terrain. Well, Mechanicus, the newer stuff, and a bunch of the oh my god, what are they called? Oh, Prometheum refineries. That's what it is. I got 2 copies of the Prometheum refinery, and they have so much detail. They're just beautiful. You could do real simple, paint job and they still look great, but they've got all these little wires going everywhere as you'd expect, and so I'm painting some of those, and these are going to be for my Forge World table, which the nice thing is also the terrain will work really good for Necromunda, and it'll actually work really good for the new kill team that's coming out, because that's what they're basing a lot of the new terrain. They're including some of the Sector Mechanicus type stuff, like I can't remember what it's called, Alchemite stack, I think it is, and the Galvanic Serval Haulers are going to be in the game, and it looks really good. It looks like a lot of fun. They've got not all the new factions. They've listed the factions that are going to be coming out, And the box that you get for Kill Team, which will be on pre-order the 21st, has a ton of stuff. It's got all the manuals, Skitarii Squad versus Gene Stealer Cult Neophytes, and I don't know what this seems like, a strange board size, but apparently it's 22 by 30. So it comes with a double-sided game board like that, and Imperial Ruins, which are looking pretty cool. Pretty cool. You get deck, dice, the usual stuff. But
I'm interested to see how the rules are, because they said the team that did Shadespire worked on these ones.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I'm not really keen on Shadespire. I like the models. I haven't played much, but it seems like it's a good game, so that's cool. We'll see how it works out, I guess. They've got a FAQ you can download and stuff.
Yeah, they're doing it better than what they did with freaking Necromunda. We're like, oh, here's 2 crews, and we'll give the rest to you later.
Yeah, they're still coming out with crews. What's that? I can't think of the new one's name that's going to be coming out. Vansar just came out, and then they're coming out with I don't know. They've got like special masks on their face. I can't remember the name of the faction. I didn't really care for them personally. They're good looking models and everything, but let's see. Well, anyway, I'm happy that the Skitarii are going to be in there, because those are pretty cool. I'm thinking about getting a core box, but I don't know. I gotta save up. That's there's so much shit coming out, and I still don't have my Orc Codex.
Speaking of lots of shit coming out, now the big thing that's currently rumbling around the interwebs, we actually had one of our listeners ask if we were going to bitch about it.
Oh, here it comes. Can we do the good Kickstarters first?
This one, okay, everyone here is probably going to be incredibly surprised. The only thing that I can say that I don't like about this Kickstarter is that it's Cool Mini.
Okay, that's fair.
Because it's Cool Mini. I think I've bitched about Cool Mini and their practices way too much. So if you want to listen to my rants about Cool Mini or not, go back and listen to one of the other ones where I talk about a Cool Mini Kickstarter. So I'm just going to ignore the fact that it's by Cool Mini, because, that's going to be a detractor to anything they publish for their pre-order system.
Well, I have to admit that I saw that when it came out, because I love Cthulhu, and when I saw it and Clint had linked it again, I looked at it, I saw CMON, and I clicked away.
Okay, so it's Cthulhu, Death May Die. It's by Cool Mini or not. I have my problems with them, but I probably should just get over it, because Kickstarter as a platform has changed, and it is... No, I didn't mean to click a link and go to PayPal. Last thing I need to do is fucking try to... Because everybody's using a Kickstarter as a fucking pre-order system, and it's really sad for the small creators, but it is what it is nowadays. It currently has just a bit over 11,000 backers. It's got 10 days to go, so if this comes out sometime next week, you can still pledge. It's currently sitting at 1.75 million of the 200,000 that it needs. All right, so the base game is $100, and the base game is kind of crazy in the amount of shit that you get. The core box, you get the dice, the tokens, the cards. It looks like you get 10 investigators, 28 cultists and monsters. You get the Elder Box Cthulhu, you get the Elder Box Hastur, you get the 6 episode boxes. Also included, you get an additional 13 investigators. You get a Lost Episode 1, which has a stuff, and you get the Elder Dragon box, which also has this big-ass Elder Dragon and some other cards. And then the next goal at 1.8 is you get all the cards that come with it. Awesome. And you do get a lot of shit for $100. And Arena Studio from Spain is actually designing a lot of their miniatures, which I'm a huge Arena Studio fan. So that kind of made me go, The one cool thing about it is you can actually go check out the rule book, because they have posted the rule book. It's a work in progress, but they have posted it, which I do believe they've done on some of the other Kickstarters, but it's not something they do often. You also get a special character, Julia Investigator. So you get a ton of investigators that are going to be Kickstarter exclusives. So 14 Kickstarter exclusives, which is kind of neat. But the $100 box isn't what really puts this miniature board game aside. Yes, the Cthulhu, the Shaggoth, all these monsters, they're very large. They're probably 150 millimeters tall. They're big models. They're large models. They stand out. But this game has, for the $250 Kickstarter, a quote-unquote miniature that's 570 fucking millimeters tall.
God.
And comes on a 440 millimeter by 440 millimeter, or in, silliness.
I'm sorry, at that level, at that size, it's a statue.
Dude, the game is played, the expansion is played on its base.
Oh my God.
That's the game board. And you look at it and, oh my God, I'm not going to lie. I'm sitting there going, whoa. Angel actually painted the one that's on the Kickstarter. But it is, oh, man, they've included tons of optional buys. They've included a lot of stuff. They have tons and tons of stretch goals, mainly investigators, though they did put a couple bad guys. Like the dragon was a Kickstarter exclusive at 1.7, so you actually got another Elder One figure. Shipping is actually relatively reasonable. I think it's $20 to the US, and this is a big freaking box. And okay, so the big bitch people have had, and the big complaint that I've heard, is their quote-unquote crazy-ass pledge system that they did. And the $100, the Unspeakable Pledge, which gets you the Julia, all stretch goals, and the Death May Die core box, is going to be delivered in July of 2019. So 1 year. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's not bad.
All right. So the $250 Raylo Rising Pledge, which comes with everything listed above, and the Raylo Rising, aka Giant Cthulhu, exclusive expansion. So I don't know if they mean exclusive expansion as in it's only going to be available in this Kickstarter or what. But it doesn't have a delivery until April of 2020.
Now, if you got in early, you got a discount, and you were getting your giant model earlier.
Right. So if you got in like in the first early bird pledges, which were probably gone within the first 30 seconds because there's only 250, you got it for $220, and it has a delivery of July 19th. If you got in
they did go through and they said that everyone will get the game at the exact same time. It's just that giant expansion monster is the only thing that's coming in 2020 or whatever you're estimated to.
They have said that
they essentially did those in waves.
And honestly,
they just could have. Honestly, I think they should have just kind of said that. It would have made a little more sense to say, this is wave 1, this is wave 2, this is wave, whatever. Because then people would make more sense.
And, honestly, yes, by adding wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, it would make sense, especially once you got to the 250. Because it does. Like, this last pledge has a shit ton of reward pledges. And it would have honestly made the homework a little better for people, too, because they could put out an update and go, we're now shipping wave 4 of the box set, and we're a month ahead of schedule. And that would have made people happy.
Which is kind of what, it was kind of what Bones, or Reaper did.
Right, Reaper did that after the first one. I think they should have took a plate. took a sheet out of the playbook and kind of followed. But I see what they're doing, and I think it's smart because they could go, "Hey, everyone's going to get the expansion, but it's going to be July 2020. Just bid now."
Yeah.
Or they can be like, "Hey, for the first X number of months, we're going to be able to produce 200 of them a month, and we'll ship them out."
Well, they did. Now they've come back since they had all that backlash. Like, hey, we can get 100 of these models out a month. What's really kicking people now, though, is starting in like July, they say 100, then 100, 100, 100. Then magically in April, everyone's going to get theirs.
And we'll have to sit here and wait and see what is going on. It could be the fact that they're sourcing different manufacturers. They could have a U.S.-based manufacturer that's making the 100 a month here in the States, and they could be waiting on their shipment to come in from China. Or they could be DHLing a small number of them over instead of shipping them in a pallet, and they're going to get... We don't know. There's a logistical thing that we don't know. And I can see why people are going, what the fuck? But more than likely, what is happening is manufacturing will be done, and it's going to be shipped at a date, and they're giving themselves a cushion for the 3,000 or 4,000 that's going to have to come over in a cargo container.
Right.
And April 2020 is probably when that cargo container is estimated to get into the States.
3,600 or 3,689 backers. So yeah, you're talking
so
about
far.
a lot.
So far. You're talking, and these things are fucking massive.
Well, that's
That's
the only pledge you can, if you want the Ryla Rising. That's the only pledge left for that one. They're all, all the rest are gone
right.
Yeah. So unless you just want the base box.
You're talking a miniature, and I use the term loosely. That's 1.5 by 1.5 by 2.5 feet.
Right.
So even in a cargo container, you're still looking at, with the 3,000 pledges, you're looking at 3 or 4 cargo containers worth of these Cthulhus that are going to be coming over. Now, I can't tell you why that they're only... my bigger question is, how are they getting the 100 or 200 that's coming over outside of the Connex? That would be the big question that I would ask. And I do know that there is a certain amount of assembly going on with these models too, which will probably happen stateside. They did say, with the exception of the wings, that these models are coming assembled. So maybe they'll get 1,000 of them to start when they... This is my theory, and I'm actually going to take the side of CMON. I know, for our listeners, don't fucking die of a heart attack. I get this. But this is what my theory is. The manufacturer over in China, who's going to be manufacturing the entire game, is only going to have so much resources to pour into the Cthulhu. The big-ass Cthulhu. So let's say by July by 2019, they're going to be able to ship a Connex over with all of the board games, because those are all single-pour minis, all of the board games, and all of the Kickstarter expansions, and 1,000 of the Cthulhus. So they get the 1,000 Cthulhus, they get there, and it's not going to be July that they get them. It's probably going to be like April when they get them, or not April, May, June. Probably June or even May when they get them, because they have to set them up in a warehouse, get everything lined up, ready to ship. The Cthulhus have to be assembled.
Getting them through
in
customs
my theory,
can be interesting.
Right. In my theory, what's going to happen is they say that they're going to get 1,000 or 1,200 of these, because that's what the factory quoted them, that they can get 1,200 of them done at the end of the Kickstarter itself. And what this 100 or 200 wave is actually giving them enough time to assemble and make sure these models are good before, and then packaging them up and then shipping them off separately. So they might actually get all 1,200 of them when the Kickstarter ends initially. And what happens is the July of 2020 is when the manufacturer, because more than likely Cool Mini says, hey, we're probably going to sell 5,000 of these, or 6,000, or 7,000, or we're going to order 10,000 of these. And the manufacturer's like, well, we can get 1,200 of them whenever we ship the game out, but we're going to not be able to get the other 95,000 or 8,500 units to you until July of 2020, because at that point you're going to have to fill an entire Connex up before you're going to want to ship, and you're not going to want to ship multiple shipments like that, because at that point that's a nightmare. So what you're going to do is you're going to wait till the final second printing, quote unquote, of the 85 or 7,500, 6,500 units that they ordered gets done. They're going to load them up in the 2 or 3 Connexes that they're going to have, and then they're going to be shipped over. And once again, this isn't going to be July. This entire time, let's say they get them in March. So what they're going to do is they've pre-assembled everything, and they might get ahead of themselves, and they might send these out early. But then if they get them in May or April or even June, they sit down and they're assembling the last. Because if these things are assembled, folks. So, and all, honestly, they might have them assembled in China because labor's cheaper there. But if they have to assemble them or even box them or get them ready to ship out, that's still going to take time. And they're going to take all this extra cushion that they're gaining by having these stuff done early to prepare the last 4,000 or 5,000 that they're eventually going to sell. Because ultimately it's at 3,000 right now. It would shock the shit out of me if they didn't sell 7,000 of these. Because in my humble opinion, as a miniature painter, that fucking Cthulhu model is absolutely worth $150.
Well, actually,
absolutely.
it's worth, or rather, it's okay. So you got 3,600 backers on the latest, okay, and then you've got 200 more, 400. 600.
Oh, it's another 1,000 at least.
700, 800. You've got over 4,000 easily on just the large, the regular and the large. You probably got about 4,300 of the total backers, and then almost that many doing the.
It's another 1,350. 1,350 on the quote unquote early birds.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 4,900. No, you're looking at 5,039.
Yeah, so
or 29. 5,029 backers so far just for the big Cthulhu. No, and in all honesty, if they sold 10,000 of that big Cthulhu, it wouldn't surprise me at all. This has only been live for a few days now. It's already got this, and it's just, the word of mouth is so fucking huge right now on this. And Cool Mini has that backing. If this one becomes the number one Cool Mini game of all times, wouldn't surprise me at all. Not at all.
Well, Cthulhu's very hot right now. It seems it's a very... I mean, that's just... Yeah, people are really into it.
It's Cthulhu. Point for win number one.
Right.
It's got actually really good looking models in it. And I'm talking the Elder Gods. I didn't go through and look at all the investigators. They look neat, but whatever.
They look okay, yeah.
Well, looking at the Elder Gods, those look fucking amazing. And that big ass... That statue by itself is worth the $150. The markup. If that fucker would sell for $200 or even $250, okay. My humble assessment, if the level of detail on this is even remotely close to what's being shown, which shouldn't be hard because it's so blown up, that I would see this model by itself fetching $250. Easy. I see people get smaller Forge World models and pay more for them. That would easily fetch $250 by itself. And then on top of that, you have a board game with all the Kickstarter exclusive stuff. Fuck it. If you got the $250 to spend on it, I would. And this is me coming to a Cool Mini game. Yeah, I would. One, they're going to fucking deliver. Two, most of the shit's probably already done. And they actually have a pretty good time schedule ahead of them. And the value's there. Even if you just want the $100 box set, the value is there. This is easy. This is an easy $100 game.
So other Kickstarters, not to too much change the subject, but I did want to talk about.
Hold up, we got to give everyone. No, we got to give everyone just a moment to catch their breath and wake up because Larry talked positive about a Cool Mini Kickstarter.
Yeah, don't shock the shit out of everybody, man.
Sorry, we're looking for basic material real quick, so we had to mute.
Scenic Express. Oh, you mean literally looking for? That's hilarious.
Well, Atlantis Miniatures actually has a new Kickstarter out.
Yes.
And they're relatively well known for having some good stuff. And we've dealt with them. They've got the Ogre Miniatures.
Yeah, those are one of the ones I backed. It's the second one I backed of theirs, I think. Those are some really cool looking freaking models.
There's some pretty good size ones, yeah. And they're pretty decent priced. $100. It just kind of depends on, anywhere from 100 to 200. And the models are gorgeous. I mean, Atlantis is known for making great models. They're resin. They're not the injected in plastic, so...
Yeah, they still have a good 16 days left on their Kickstarter, and it's funded, so,
Yep. It's at 31,000 of 18,000 asked for, almost 300 backers. They do use true resin. They're not injection type stuff, so the detail is definitely there. You've got a whole bunch of add-on. Oh, that puppy's so cool.
Down, Larry, down.
Oh, sorry. It's still locked, but yeah, that's pretty badass actually.
Pretty sure it won't be. I'm pretty sure it'll be unlocked.
Yeah,
rather is what I meant. Yeah,
it's gonna be unlocked pretty cool, and it's only like it's like $13. I may have to send you $15 to add a dog for me.
That's fine. Yeah. What was it? I had one more that I personally found that I really liked, and it's their first one, so I don't know. I don't know them. It's Cerebus Studios. They have.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, I think they're known. I just don't. I think this is just their first Kickstarter.
Is it their first Kickstarter? I was thinking we actually did a kick-ass Kickstarter on them.
According to my Kickstarter, this is their first. Well, they first created one backed. So yeah. Anyway, they're more. Let me give you the link. I can't figure this out.
Okay, now I'm wondering where the hell I've heard of Cerebus Studios from. That's their new one.
There we go. It's 32 millimeter resin.
Which is the new 28.
Yeah, basically, heroic scale.
The heroic creep.
They're pretty. I like. There's not a lot there yet. I mean, there's like.
Oh, I was going to show this one, but it has 64 hours left.
Yeah, it's not quite. There's some time, but yeah.
Well, yeah. If you're listening to this,
maybe not. Yeah, that's true. Well, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. You're gonna have to rush, depending upon.
If Larry gets his act together.
Well, anyway, the fun thing is they have t-shirts, dice trays, but also the miniatures look pretty, and they have a beautiful, which hopefully I'll be able to still afford when it actually launches, or funds rather, is the, what is this big beast called? I can't say it. It looks a little bit like a hippogriff, only more bird-like.
Oh, Griffin?
Yeah, or Volatant, I don't know. It looks really freaking cool. And it is just... Oh, it just looks beautiful. Also, the models were painted by Angel, so I don't think he painted the big one, though. Yeah, I don't see there's not a picture of the big one painted as far as I know. Well, we'll see. That's the one I'm hoping to get.
Yeah, I was looking. There's a couple other Kickstarters. Like, there's this one that I was going to share with, but if you want, like, the very definition of a badly designed Kickstarter, this was
Ooh.
it. Like, it was a wall of text, no photos, and he was like, I just need money to get this, the equipment needed so I can start my company and do these resin pour terrain features, that I'll have like a catalog and all. I'm just like, ugh.
Wow.
And like, there's literally one photo of him like taking some of the resin out of a cast, but everything else was just this giant wall of text. I was like, this is going to have to be a hard pass.
I'm trying to see, is that the... No, that's not it. There's, Lost Kingdom miniatures. I cannot pronounce this. It is a Aztec, or Spanish version, anyway, of the name. It's Quetzalcoatl, I guess, Empire. And, basically it's like, kind of limp, lizardmen, they're beautiful models. But, I can't pronounce any of these. And it's their second, I think, Kickstarter. And, they're out of Valencia, Spain. So, shipping may be an issue for some people.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit, But, yeah, and these are actual... I don't think these are renders. I think these are actual pictures of the models, which is nice. They're meant for a... to me, they look like an alternative Lizardman AOS type sculpts and whatnot. I do think that they could have done a better job on the Kickstarter in terms of adding the names, putting I mean, they're definitely unique, but like I said, I'm pretty sure they're probably related to Aztec. I don't know. It's very difficult to...
Here you go. This is not how to run a Kickstarter.
Oh, boy. Oh, yes, I saw that one. Nova Forge. I'm sorry, that's just...
I wish the guy the best, but...
I mean, yeah, it's start... Oh, wow, two backers. Wow. Sad. That is... Yeah. Now, I do have to say, though, from talking to, I can't remember his name, Sean, does Fenris Games? The Kickstarter interface is horrid. But
sure
this is wall of text, and I'm sorry, this is also stream of consciousness, and also I see a whole lot of spelling issues. Well, maybe he'll...
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, and like you said, no pictures. That's sad.
It wouldn't have been so bad if there was, like, some photos of, like, stuff he's done, or... Yeah,
you've got... That is the number one thing. If you're doing a Kickstarter, have the pictures. Because I'll tell you right now, I don't even hardly look at... I mean, I look for the pretty pictures when I'm looking at it. An eye-catching name is helpful, but you gotta have those pictures because you're looking at a visual audience. This is not for reading, This is a... people, if you're doing miniatures, obviously, it's more about the look of the miniature and whatever.
Yeah, I'm here to spend money, not reading.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I don't mind reading, but there was one Kickstarter I backed recently, and I cannot recall the name of it precisely. That it was a good Kickstarter. The models are cool. They're not received yet because it's still fairly new. But he did like a little story on the updates every day or every other day or so, and to be honest, it was kind of just wasn't my thing. But it was that's in the updates. You don't have to read those. You don't want
exactly.
So yeah,
I shouldn't have to, one, try to correct your spelling mistakes, and two, I shouldn't have to like go down like 3 paragraphs to find out anything about your Kickstarter. Like,
the information's too buried. You need almost the bullet points at the beginning. You can get more detailed later on, but people need... It's an advertising thing. You need to have quick things, little snippets that people will see and can retain or will catch their interest if it's not, and then you add in your visual picture, and then you can get into more detail as you go. As people become more interested, they're more willing to invest the time. but they're not going to do that just when they're surfing.
Yeah. But I don't know. There really needs to be like a Kickstarter 101 class for some of these.
Oh, dude, Larry, that's what you should do.
A class from the perspective of buyers?
Why not? Hey, if you want to run a successful Kickstarter, here you could distill down a whole bunch of
Do you know
stuff.
how many people we've tried to help with their Kickstarters?
That's what I mean. Exactly.
Manuel listened to us. Other people have completely ignored us. Some people took some of our advice. And yeah, it would be great if I could go, hey, give me $50 and I'll go over your Kickstarter and I'll look at what's successful from a critic's point of view. But I think part of the reason that I will be the first to say this, I and we as a team have a credibility issue because we've never run a Kickstarter. We have looked at thousands of Kickstarters. We have, hell, between us, backed hundreds of Kickstarters, and we've seen what's been done correctly and what's not been done correctly. But we've never... We could do it from the perspective of a consumer, like when we look at something and go, these are the points that we like. These are the points that we don't like. This is the point that a lot of people bitch about. These are the points that draw people to these Kickstarters.
Well, and that's
And we
kind of
could do
my
it from
point,
there.
though. That's what people pay advertising people to do. Those advertising people aren't manufacturing the product. They're not making the product. They're not distributing it in any way. They're simply making it sexy. And they do it because they know the tropes to play on. They know how to connect with people, and that's the thing I think that people don't understand is how they can connect with other people. Like the language thing. Okay, I don't mind if somebody's a non-native speaker and they're having some issue in their Kickstarter. I give a lot of allowances for that because it's difficult to write in a foreign language. At the same time, if for instance, their rule book is going to be written in English, then they damn well better hire somebody who can frickin' translate properly. And by that token, in a sense, the people that are doing the Kickstarters that are native English speakers damn well better learn to write properly.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Or again, hire
Well,
someone.
yeah.
Right. And we actually offered that service at one point. We were like, hey, for X amount of dollars, we'll look over it and give this type of advice. For X amount of dollars, we'll do this with it. And for X amount of dollars, we'll basically write your entire Kickstarter for you. And we've had nibbles, but ultimately they didn't pan out or their ego got in the way of actually listening to the advice that we gave.
That's
And
too
this
bad.
is back when we were doing it for free.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, if I will... I've had one good experience with giving free advice for a Kickstarter, and I've had multiple bad experiences. At this point, if someone wanted help with their Kickstarter, and I kind of didn't know them, bring me money. Because, no, seriously, because I'm tired of wasting mine, Clint's, and Yeji's time.
No. I'm actually laughing, not because of what you're saying, but because the thing is people don't value things they get for free.
Well, yeah, they do, that's exactly what it is. They don't value the 3 hours a piece that we gave them that at a professional rate should have cost them...
What, $150
at least? No, I was thinking actually a $225. Professional rate, $25 an hour, 3 hours, 3 people doing this.
Oh, right.
And if you want to say $150 and we put this in, but the idea behind it is, if someone gives you the money to do a professional service, then they're they're going to be at a higher probability of actually paying the fuck attention to what you're saying versus just blowing you off.
Well, in Kickstarter, my understanding is you have to actually provide money to start a Kickstarter. You don't just I'm going to do this and we're going to get free money.
I don't think so.
Well, from what I understand, I haven't looked into it myself, but I've been talking to a friend who's talking about maybe starting one, and there is, I guess you'd call it a security deposit, but I don't know. I'd have to look into it in more detail.
If that's true, then that's new.
Okay, well, maybe it is. I don't know.
But
anyway.
The concept is we gave the exact same service to multiple people on giving advice that we would have charged for.
Yeah.
And for anyone who ever seeks our advice on something, sorry, you're shit out of luck, the people before you ruined that. But we gave the exact same advice. And we didn't bait them and go, well, now you have to pay us X amount of dollars before we give you everything else.
Yeah.
Now, if they had asked us for a rewrite, that's completely different because that's actual labor.
Well,
copy editing
is sad.
is time intensive.
I see these Kickstarters, especially for smaller companies like this guy we're talking about, that, could be done if they were just done any way other than half-assed.
Okay, and that's a key. That's a key right there. Drop someone if you're from another country, and I've said this a dozen times before this. Either go, hey, I'll send you X models if you look over this and make sure it reads properly and it's not cringy. Not ears. Or
yeah.
Or, hey, I'll give you guys $25 or $50 if you read over this and make sure I don't sound like an idiot whenever it comes across. And you can find people to do it. Now, if you're going to hire a professional copy editor, that's something completely different. But at the same token, this is your first chance to impress people, is to come across. If I read...
And sometimes you're last.
Yeah.
Right. And very often you're last. If I go to your Kickstarter, as an example, and I'm doing a kick-ass Kickstarter rating on it, and I look at it and I can't follow along and shit's out of order and it's all out of sync because it looks like you just jammed it together in one flow and you didn't go back and reorder everything, guess what? You're going to get a D at best, and I'm going to tell people to skip it because you don't look professional. That lowers my expectations of your delivering an actual product, especially if this is your first Kickstarter. And I'm just going to be like, guys, if he doesn't have the time to actually take into looking at this and making it look good and everything else, maybe you shouldn't go at it. But if you actually have someone where it's a new Kickstarter and it comes across nicely, and if I ask a question, it's actually answered. If there's times that I'll go and I'll ping Kickstarters and be like, I'll ask them basic ass questions, and whether or not I recommend them, it depends on their attitude when they come back. Artist Opus or Artist Nopus, as I like to call it, is a prime example of that. Before the Kickstarter started, I asked them some basic questions. They come back with a shit ass attitude, and at that point I'm like, screw you guys.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to talk about them at all until I started hearing some whispers about their brushes and some of their cringy ass advertising, and then I opened the floodgates to that. But that's a topic for a previous podcast. About your attitude and how you come across. Don't start pushing something if you can't answer. Okay, if someone goes, hey, what's pricing going to be like? Hey, we haven't locked that down yet. When the Kickstarter launches, you'll get the information. That's understandable. What's shipping going to be like? We're not sure. We're waiting on the final schematics. But when the Kickstarter launches, you'll get that. Awesome. But when you have a question such as, hey, are you actually going to send these out to known artists that people know, aka known artists, that are going to be able to use these, and it's a wide variety of people, so we can get an honest critique of them, and I get the Kickstarter launches in 2 months, come back and read that then. That's the wrong fucking answer.
Yeah, that was a weird answer.
There's certain topics that you can push off to when it launches, and it's completely acceptable. But questions like that, because there's reasons we're asking this question as a community, and there's reasons I'm asking this as a consumer, and there's reasons that I'm asking this to talk about this product to the people of this podcast. And because of that shit-ass response, their social media person, and their really shitty attitude they gave me afterwards, and their smart-ass comment back, I have no love for their product. And I like I've said before, I get people wanting things that, it's a pretty white handle that's a little bit wider. Okay, but it's still a fucking Rosemary and Company brush. I don't care how the fuck you slice it. I use I bought a purple fucking airbrush when I already owned the normal version of the same brush for $300. I get buying something because it's visually pleasing to you. If Artis Opus would have had a purple brush, they honestly might have caught my attention a little bit more. But honestly, even if they had a purple brush, let's say they had a purple brush, with the attitude that they gave me, and trust me, I've got no problem dropping $50 on brushes. I could show you my Series 7 collection, and you'll see I have no problem dropping $50 on brushes. The attitude and the lack of information that they were unwilling to give out or didn't know ruined it. I would not have bought it. Even if they had a purple one, I would have been like, nope, not buying it, because you turned me off as a customer. So if you're going to do a Kickstarter and you're going to start hyping it early, hype it properly.
Yeah, you gotta... Customer service is important. I mean, it's essentially customer service.
If you're going to start pushing and hyping your product, expect certain questions to be asked and have fucking answers for them. Don't deflect it by saying, the Kickstarter comes out in a month, you can read it then. Wrong. You're hyping your product. You're hyping. I get it. You don't want to say they're going to be $50 for 4 brushes because you don't want to turn people off. That's a good misdirect. By saying, hey, we haven't logged in. And come up with a reasonable, not just, well, come back in a month. You can see it on the Kickstarter. Bullshit.
People are going to have forgotten it in a month.
Well, it's not only that. You have a way of saying it. Hey, we haven't locked down manufacturing costs yet, so if you come back during the Kickstarter, we'll have all the information up on the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
That's a polite, good redirect. But just answering literally every fucking question on your Kickstarter on your Facebook page with "come back in a month for the Kickstarter." That's no bueno. That's no bueno. There's certain questions you should answer straight up. Period. By not answering it, it just shows piss poor customer service. I have absolutely no faith in that product at all. I have no faith in that company. Their attitude is shit. Their attitude is rude. And honestly, some of the things that I've seen, I've lost respect for artists that I have respected for decades because of the way they push this brush.
Well, and
simple as that. It's cringy as fuck. And some of the people that have pushed this brush, and I'm not going to name names, honestly, you should be ashamed, because that was some of the cringiest fucking things I have seen, and it's a fucking joke. Congratulations, you've been memed.
I was going to say, the customer service is important because that sort of, that's exactly what you're going to look at, when you're talking about when are you going to get your stuff. How are they going to treat you after they have your money? I mean, that's right. If they treat you like that before, then that's a big red flag.
And exactly, that's it. If you have a really bad attitude beforehand, and maybe it wasn't a bad attitude, maybe it's me misunderstanding because they're from another country or whatever, but at the same token, God, we're in a day and age, hire someone if you're going to have... Your biggest market is English-speaking artist. Hire someone that speaks fucking English to run your English social media campaign. So you don't come across, because honestly, and this is coming from someone whose parent is from Europe, European English, and I'm not talking about people from the UK, that's completely different, but if you're from a romantic language and you're trying to speak English, honestly, a lot of the times, you come across as a rude ass. It's just how it is. And I know you don't mean to do it, but it's just how you talk whenever you speak English, because you come from a completely different Latin-based language. I get it. I understand it. It sounds very fucking clipped, but it still doesn't change the fact. And this is, like I said, this is me coming from someone whose mother was French.
Okay. I'm sorry, but I have to point out that if you were to go by vocabulary, English would be a Romance language. We do actually go by structure, however, so they do still categorize it as just a Germanic language. But anyway, sorry.
Well, Germanic is not a Romantic language. German is not based off of Latin. German is based off the Germanic languages, which is completely different.
No, really?
English is actually...
What I said was, and I quote, if we were going by vocabulary, Okay, because the amount of vocabulary that came through English from Middle French, which would be your Norman Conquest, basically, and from Latin, we would be a Romance language. However, it is not based on that. It's based on the structure of the sentence, whether it's subject, verb, object, things like that, where the basic components of the sentence are the constructive stuff like how you decline things. That's why it's considered a Germanic language. Anyway, moving on. What?
We also have... Our language is a bastard language. English is seriously a hodgepodge of, like, every European language you could possibly think of smashed into one. And we kicked out the words we don't like. And the letters we don't like, especially
we seriously just basically... what's that saying? Now I've forgotten the origin of it, but it's the... English doesn't borrow so much as it mugs you in a back alley and rifles in your pockets for spare grammar and vocabulary.
Except use. It leaves all the use with the... Yeah.
Anyway. English language history is a very, very, very interesting subject.
Now, I do have to say, we're lucky that we only dropped the U and flipped the ERs around, because if Ben Franklin would have had his way with the English language, it'd look completely different.
Oh, you ought to see some of the stuff that's out there. Because the English reforms, the spelling reforms attempts, they're not going to happen. I'm kind of glad they're not going to happen, but it does make it very difficult for a new person to learn the language.
Yeah, because, I mean... how many different cuz do we have and pho and everything else? I mean, we can...
Yeah, it depends on the origin of the word. It depends on, what particular mood the scholar was in when he wrote it down.
Well, and for a good portion of the words in the English language, it depends on what drug William Shakespeare was on at the time.
Oh, my God. Funny story. So my husband is sitting here looking at... I forget how it... I think I finally made him watch a Shakespeare play, and he was like, wait, that's from Shakespeare? That phrase? Whatever it was at the time. And he's like, wow, there's a lot of them. I said, yes, there are! There are more phrases from William Shakespeare in English than there is from the Bible. He had no idea that there were so many of those. I mean, mind's eye. People don't realize mind's eye is from Shakespeare. It is not a, Anyway. Sorry, I could go on about languages for a long time.
Well, I forget the exact number of words, I could probably Google and find it, that William Shakespeare actually just invented. Like, just pulled them literally out of his ass. And said, hey, this is a word now.
Yeah, it's fun because Shakespeare is early modern English. But there's so many words that meant something different, too, at the same time, which is really, really cool. And if we actually did reform English spelling, then we would lose a lot of that ability easily to not just to read our past shit that we've written, but also to keep the historicity of it. Okay,
so the official Shakespeare Online website says Shakespeare invented 1,700 words by changing common nouns into verbs, changing verbs into adjectives, connecting words that were never used together, and adding prefixes and suffixes, and devising words wholly original. So Shakespeare invented 1,700 words, and I forget what the average person's vocabulary number is, but I'm actually pretty sure that is coming very close to...
Damn it.
Now I'm Googling again.
I just painted the wrong freaking thing. Well, I wish GW had taken a little bit of a page from some of that, just because I'm looking at some of the new names. Okay, Nighthaunt's okay, but the Drukari, the Eldari, and some of these names, I'm like, oh god, please stop.
Yeah, gotta love copyrightable names.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How many ways have we got? Oh, the Dwarves is a good one now, too. Whatever the hell. I can't even remember what the hell they're called.
I don't understand why everything has to be copyrighted. Seriously, people.
I mean, some of it is if anybody had the copyright for it, Tolkien would have had the damn copyright for it.
This is true, too. But it became so synonymous with that setting that it kind of became... fair use?
Yeah, and you've also got, I'm not sure, the hell is the name? The Dungeons and Dragons used a lot of that too. So again, before, or well, close before GW.
Well, no, D&D didn't go through and fucking try to change the dwarfs into something that was copyrightable.
No, they didn't try to copyright it, but I mean, they were using it is all.
Right, and they were just, and they're cool. They're cool with just using dwarfs.
Yep.
Now, do they have other names for specific race? Like they have the elves, but then inside the elves in Dragonlance, they have 3 or 4 different subsects, and those are probably relatively original to Dungeons and Dragons, especially the Dragonlance world. That's cool.
And some of that might have been from the books writing at the time too.
Yeah, but GW took it to a whole fucking other level.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Like ridiculously so.
No, then they renamed all their paints as well.
Yeah. All the whole paint lines renamed, the new stuff they come out with. It's wow.
Well, the paint lines is actually, I've said this on the podcast before, but that's Vallejo's fault.
No, yeah.
No, it's straight up, it's Vallejo's fault. Because what happened was GW had they've always made minor tweaks here and there to their paint line, but ever since second edition paints, they've kept them relatively the same. They dropped a few, gained a few, but their core, like Chaos Black and Midnight Blue and shit like that, has been there. Well, come along the early 2000s, and this is 2001, 2000, Vallejo, and it may even be earlier than that. I just remember buying Vallejo game colors back in the early 2000s. Vallejo released a line of game colors, and if you look at the game colors and you look at the GW paints, they are almost a 1-for-1 match all the way through the entire fucking product line. So, and to be honest, I'm surprised it actually took them as long as it did, because it was, 2015 when they did the big paint switchover, which I've bitched about because it...
Maybe? I think it might have been 2012. But anyway.
Was it that early?
Well,
okay, so
it was about...
It was pretty early, because it was right when we were switching into 5th ed that they got rid of the hex pots.
No. Hold
we
on.
had bought hex pots right as we were going into 5th ed.
The hard plastic hex pots?
Yes.
No, no.
No, we still have some, and that's when I got back into it.
It was 2011, 2012, somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, then you might be right, Larry. It might have been about well...
No, because no, they had soft round pots whenever I was in Iraq.
I've been painting
they haven't changed. They've changed their paints, but they haven't changed their pots in a long time. Because
we're talking about the ones that still have the black lid on top.
Right. Those black hard tops, which I call the bolter rounds, those were the... Okay, so we had the original soft clear bottles, then you had the clear soft hex bottles, then you had the bolter rounds, which were the screw top hex hard plastic bottles, which were a fucking nightmare. Because if you got any paint inside the groove, you had to have plumber fucking wrench to get the lid off, like literally. I broke more bottles of that. Then they came out with the hex bottles with the hard plastic flip tops. Then they came out with the soft-sided round bottles with the black flip tops. And then the newest paints are the exact same as the previous bottles, except they have a clear top instead of a black top.
Yeah.
They got rid of the hardcover hex tops well before D&D 5th edition. Well.
No, we're talking 5th ed 40K.
No, 40K, yeah, but...
Oh, jeez, sorry. We were talking D&D and I had 5th edition. Yeah, okay, that's about right then. I'm sitting there like, no, because D&D 5th ed's only like 2 years old. That was...
Yeah, no.
We were talking 2011.
We're talking 5th ed.
God
40K.
Well, if they had...
Just about 6th ed, because... They started doing the flyers, and then they redid it for the 6th edition.
Okay,
let's out of 40K.
Let's say 3 years ago they switched over to the new paint line, which I think is about right. It's 2 or 3 years ago.
Well, it was right when I started painting, so it would have been about 5, but whatever.
Well, the bottles look identical to each other. It's just the colors changed.
Well, yeah, and I think
they've also added. Well,
they've done it again. You're right. They did it twice because there was when I started painting, there was the first installment or whatever you want to call it of the new wave of paints, and then they went back and did the.
Why don't we just call everything pre and post Devlin Mud?
Yeah, okay. That's a good one. Yeah.
All right. So
anyway,
pre-DM,
Stormhost Silver is one of the new ones. So yeah,
pre-DM or the age of DM, that was still the round bottles, they at that point that's when they introduced foundation paints, and that's when they introduced edge paints, and that's when they introduced a couple of their new metallics. But the core, quote unquote, layer paints, because that's what they're referred to as now.
Right.
Their layer paints were the same colors effectively as older generations. Chaos Black, White, Smelly Primer, all of this stuff. That was still the
Smelly Primer.
that was still the same. Their core.
I like how that's a color.
Their core layer paints were still the same.
Yeah, I think they're just adding to it now.
Post DM is whenever they went through and changed literally, like, the black in the new line, the newest line, is not even black. Like, if you compare it to a Chaos Black, it's like a blackish blue. It has like a really
a lot of
weird
people have
hint
said
to
that.
it.
I haven't used it for a long time. So
well, what they did is they went through and made it where they are the only people producing that hue of paint through their entire paint line. Every color is unique.
It's kind of funny because a lot of their paints were starting to match P3.
Yeah, a little bit.
But they have said that, it has not been said, but it was basically what they did is they made all of their paints unique to them, which is business. Okay,
makes sense.
From a modeler's point of view, it was annoying as fuck because now there are certain colors that I used regularly, even though I did use a lot of other brands. There are a few GW paints that I used almost exclusively, and now I can't get them anymore.
Yeah, and color matching is a bitch.
Yeah, and the color matching is out the fucking window. That little bullshit, stupid fucking chart that GW tried to shove down your throat that goes, oh, if you use the old color, you can just use this new color and it matches perfectly. And that is the biggest load of bullshit that I've heard GW say, because none of the colors fucking match.
Yeah.
I bought their new Hawk Turquoise. Mm-hmm. It doesn't even fucking come close to matching. It is so far off kilter that it's not even funny. It is such a hue change. I'm just like, no. I actually bought a bottle of it to test it, and I was just like, this is nowhere near the same.
I thought that the whole thing was, I cannot remember the company that used to make their stuff, but I also thought that they changed manufacturers was part of the reason they changed the paint line and the names.
No, it was solely okay. This is speculation, but this is going off of common sense. This is using the whatever method that the simplest answer is more than likely what it is.
Occam's razor.
Oh, okay. So this is what happened. They have one paint line, actually more than one paint line. They're copying their colors exactly. So GW is able to push their paints originally, but as soon as a person steps into a real gaming store with someone who isn't a GW mouthpiece, they're going to learn other companies in dropper bottles, which most people like, which I still to this day don't understand why GW also doesn't offer fucking dropper bottles for their colors. That would, oh my goodness. But anyways, I digress. They had multiple paint lines that are copying their colors almost perfectly. In the case of game colors, almost every color was copied over in dropper bottles, and it was cheaper. So GW goes, we're losing all these paint sales to these other companies once people get past the initial newness. What can we do? Once again, this is speculation, but this is what makes the most sense. What can we do to keep people using our paints past that newbie stage? We make all of the colors where they're unique to our company only. Because then all the new people who are coming in that are painting, they start their army with these weird-ass fucking colors. Let's say they start their colors with Bararoth Blue.
Hey, that's a beautiful color.
Which is a beautiful color. I actually have a jar. The reason I know it is I picked it up and actually read the name because it's sitting on my shelf because it is a gorgeous color. I like those teals.
I'm slightly addicted to blues.
But, okay, so it's an edge color, so no one would do their entire army in that. But just bear with me here. So let's say they want to do their entire army in this color. Well, they do it. And all of a sudden, they go into a gaming shop, and they're like... And someone's like, oh, you know, you can get these paints a lot cheaper, da-da-da-da-da. But when they already have 2,000 points of their army painted up with this color, and there's nothing that... It may come close... Yeah, but it's not going to match perfectly.
Yeah. They're
going to be like, you know what, fuck it, I'll just pay the extra $1 for the jar of paint that I'm going to use. Now, they might buy black, they might buy white from another company, they might buy their metallics, because those are a little different, but their base core colors, they're always going to, at that point, they're kind of locked into buying Games Workshop.
Yeah.
Because if they want their armies to match, then they have to buy the Games Workshop paint.
No, that makes sense.
And that is, honestly, that's, to me... why I believe that GW changed their entire paint line. It's because they just wanted people to be kind of stuck buying their paints, and they needed to make profit. And, you know, it sucked for people like me, but yes, I do have Leo. I can, instead of getting Falcon Turquoise, I can get, instead of getting Hawk Turquoise, I can get Falcon Turquoise, because luckily, Game Colors still makes all the colors that I used with GW.
I was going to say, too, those new edge blends, or edge paints, I mean... yeah, they're meant for edging, you know, for the highlights and stuff, but they're about the same consistency as layer paint. I thought they were a new technical line or something, so I wasn't really paying much attention to them. GW's
also done something smart as well, and a lot of and this is how you tell it's smart, because other companies have emulated it, they copied it, the idea. Just like whenever they switched over, everyone may hate Failcast, but guess what? Everyone copied Failcast.
Yeah.
So that you can tell, and they were innovative in this, and they were kind of innovative in this other thing too. They created what I affectionately refer to as the paint by number system, where you know that you can take these paints in their order: base paint, layer paint, highlight paint, wash, etc., and you use them in this order, and you come out with a good looking miniature. And other companies have started emulating it. Almost every company has started emulating it.
Yeah, and plus they put out those the painting videos, which are how to use those, where, what combinations, and they have the app now to support all that. And, you know, and it makes great sense for those who aren't maybe, you know, totally either comfortable or they're new at the painting thing, or maybe they're just...
GW paints,
you know.
Now, well, we will use some GW paints. GW paints aren't solely for people at our caliber painting, because we do blending, we do shading, we do fading in and everything else. But for a new person, do you know how badass it would have been back in like the 90s if I'd have been able to go, ooh, I pick up this, and I do them in this order, and it's done, and it doesn't look like absolute ass.
Holy God, tell me about it. I was using either enamels or watercolors, so...
I was using GW paints, but it's kind of like... you know, I didn't know what order to put them in. The foundation of anything that came out of this new line, other than some of the technical paints, the foundation paints was the best fucking idea ever. Ever.
Yeah, base paints are awesome. They're real. I mean, you know, I may bitch about the prices sometimes, but a lot of the GW paints, they are really, really good paints. Well,
shit. When I first started painting, I didn't know you're supposed to thin the fucking paint.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a problem with a lot of GW thing is people, okay, and I will say GW price per milliliter is very expensive, and their bottles are only 13 milliliters, so they're actually smaller than most other companies' bottles. Most other companies have 15 to 17 milliliters in their bottle.
And they do have drying problems. I'm looking at a couple right now.
Yep, they do have, especially the older ones, had drying. Anything in the hard bottles, if you have anything that's in what I call the Bolter bottles, then they are horrible about drying. The newer ones are not as bad, but they still have some issues.
To me, that seems to depend on which paint it is, too, because some of them are just worse than others.
But the thing is, with GW paints, is they are very concentrated. You cannot paint with these. Okay, you can, if you know what you're doing, you can paint with GW paint straight out of the bottle. You can. But you can't go at it with like a fucking dry brush and go, and expect it to look good. You're going to come out with like a Joker paint job.
Well, the layer ones you could do that with, but I don't think even a really good person could do that with the base. The bases are so thick.
Right. And, you know, at that point, no. But they're designed, and you do get quite a bit of use out of a GW paint. The problem is, and they've actually kind of, with their overpriced, their medium that they offer, they have solved the problem.
Lamia medium, yeah.
Yes. Is that people thin it with water, and these paints do better if you mix it with a medium.
Yeah.
Now, GW is bending people over with a cactus with how much they charge for their medium when you can go get a 8-ounce bottle for like $7 at every art store in America. I prefer Golden if you want to know. Or Winsor Newton actually makes a really good medium.
I've got a little bottle of Vallejo glaze medium that was cheaper.
Right, but it's still
it's
still incredibly expensive. Other than going and buying, I think I paid $8 for my bottle of Golden, and it's like 12 ounces.
Yeah, it's just acrylic resin, right? And I believe the Lamia medium is the same.
Okay, what the medium is? Okay, I've had this on other podcasts,
Yeah.
but I'll explain it real quick. Paint is comprised of 3 different main ingredients, and there's add-ons that you add in, and that's what makes paint special too. You've got your medium, you have the wet agent, and you have pigment. For acrylic paint, you have the acrylic resin that's mixed with water that has the pigment in it. So it's 3 main things. Now, some companies add in drying retarder, some companies add in flow aid, some companies add in other things. But the 3 basic for acrylics is the acrylic, which is a resin, water, and pigment. Now, what happens is, yes, can you thin paints with water? Absolutely. But what happens is if you thin the acrylic too much with too much water, it won't bond properly, and you'll get pigment that kind of looks sketchy. So what happens, what that bottle of medium is basically the paint without the pigment. It has the acrylic in it, and it has the water in it, but it doesn't have the pigment. So when you're adding it to it, you're causing the pigment as a made-up number going from 5,000 parts per millimeter to 2,500 parts per millimeter, which is completely made up. But you're still having the same bonding agent because you're not decreasing the bonding agent versus the thinner.
And
does that make sense?
Yeah, thinning with the water, I noticed, because my water it depends on your water hardness and everything too. You can get what you call it,
distilled, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, you want to use the distilled, because if you don't, you get the what is this called?
Alkali
watermarks, I guess. Where the
alkali.
It doesn't.
If you have hard water, you get alkali. If you have water softener, you get salt. You're just better off paying the $2 for a gallon of distilled water, because you can use it in your palette, and you can use it to thin your paints. You can use it to wash your brushes, and it'll last you forever. But yeah, it's bad to wash. It's a bad idea to do your paints with tap water.
Yeah, most tap waters have too many added stuff in it for that sort of thing. I was mentioning because I'm actually painting yellow right now, and yellow and white are just a bitch with you don't want to have. You want to have every little bit to help you can.
Right, yellow is one of those colors that it's a real pain in the ass to thin with water. You're better off doing a medium, and yeah, I mean it's paint without the pigment is what it is. So you still have the same amount of binder to water ratio, but you don't have it. It helps thin the pigment out a little bit, and like GW paints, you kind of need that because they're very highly pigmented. So if you try to put them on normally, that's why you get those real bad brush strokes, is because the pigment is kind of acting like a mud. And, you got that real thick mud that tire tracks stick in, but then you have that real thin mud. It's still mud, but whenever you go over it, it kind of smooths itself back out. And that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to get that consistency of paint to smooth itself back out instead of staying in those ridges. And that's that fine line of balancing out, if you want an analogy for what you're trying to do. And the medium, like I said, takes away the dirt portion of it, but still keeps the fluidity of it, and that's also why adding flow improver doesn't only help it come off the brush, but it also helps it even itself out. And
here's an interesting question. Thing I've been wondering about. So maybe I'm using too much flow improver, where I need to clean the brush more adequately, but I noticed that, you have that, when you add in your flow improver to your paint, and then you go to pick up your paint with the brush, you can actually wick too much of it up into the ferrule too easily.
Okay, first off, before you start painting, soak is a bad term, but get the head of your brush really, really wet.
Down, Clint! I'm like,
God damn it, why is it every time I try to be serious, everyone fucking
we got
busts
it, we got it. Yeah,
Alright, but what you want to do is get the head of your brush really wet. And I mean, like, you want to dip it in the water several times, because what you want is the water to actually wick up into the ferrule. Because what happens if you paint with a dry brush or you paint with a dry ferrule, the basically what happens is the wicking. There we go.
Yeah, it wicks up into
the action of wicking. If you have a dry ferrule, will pull the paint into the ferrule. And with Flow Improver, it flows easier.
Yeah.
So if you have Flow Improver in your paint and if you have a dry ferrule, it'll suck all of that paint into the ferrule. But if you have a wet ferrule, if you get water into the ferrule, now, like I said, don't soak it. But you do want to... But before you just pick up a brush and start painting, and I'm horrible about this myself, so I yell at myself about this, but you want to get the head of the brush wet and let it sit for a little bit. That's preparing your brush. And what'll happen, it'll wick some of that moisture into the ferrule. So when you do paint, it doesn't have that wicking motion of sucking all the paint into the ferrule.
Which makes sense, because once you get the pigment out of there...
give up. Jesus, I got chuckles and goddamn giggles, and I'm trying
you
to be
guys are
serious here for
contributing
once.
nothing. Here we are having a serious discussion.
I say the word suck, and all of a sudden it's like, sucky, $5.
My
Me love you long time.
Oh my god.
And this is why we get 3-star reviews on fucking iTunes.
Well, and also, I wanted to say, because I haven't had a chance to really play with them a lot yet, but the new technical paints, I was asking... Down, boy! I was asking Clint about it earlier, I think, the Night Haunt Gloom, and they're really cool. They're kind of like the gem paints, in that they're glossy, I don't know. I've been using it as a... God, how do you describe this shit? It's like a thinner gloss, but still transparent.
A glaze?
Yeah, maybe more like a glaze. I've seen how the...
If it's transparent and goes on like a layer paint, that would be considered a glaze.
Well, yeah, they just called it technical, so I don't know what it's... I've only seen it used once in one of their videos that I actually paid attention to.
Is it a jelly paint? Is it like the gemstones where it's a jelly paint?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like the gemstone paint, kind of, only thinner. A lot thinner. Anyway, it's nice, though. I like it, because I actually used it on one of my orc models for some kind of a gemmy green quality, and it did a nice... I wouldn't use it as a top coat, to give the hard coat, like you would use hard coat on there, or to have that hard gloss. But it definitely has some... interesting properties, I guess. So if you're doing... I mean, it's called Hex Wraith Flame for a reason, because it's that... You know how you have the ghostly... Oh, whatever the hell that's called.
Ghost tint?
No, not ghost tints, but I mean, you know how the GW does their ghost stuff, where it looks...
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
help me out here, Clint!
It's meant for a quick glow effect of like a ghostly...
There we go, thank you.
The Hex Flame. And the gloom is meant for a quick way of getting that studio look that they did from that dark to go into that lighter fade that they're doing.
It's kind of a blue... it's kind of a blue-gray, though. I was surprised. It was a lot...
Is.
The green's a lot brighter.
It's one of those things where as you layer more and more on, it's going to get more opaque and going to turn that darker color.
Interesting.
But I love how when they were like first announcing all this, like, oh, you can just paint your model white and then put one coat on and bam, you have a ghost. I'm like, that's not ITC legal.
What?
3 colors.
Oh, I was going to say, are they requiring 3 coats? Anyway.
No, it's as easy as just paint their damn eyes. Make their eyes glow.
There you go, yeah. No, I see what you mean.
Yeah, and
That's
honestly,
cool,
there's a lot of...
Well, and they're doing the shortcuts again for the people that are trying to get the models out there quickly, who, have... Like, the army was launched last week. I have it painted this week. Like, holy crap, people.
Yeah, some people have been flying through this freaking box. Like,
Oh, Jesus,
I'm
yeah.
thinking it's going to take me maybe a month to get through it all.
I mean, I paint fairly fast, I guess. I don't know. But I still like to give more detail to them than most people do for maybe tabletop or for gaming purposes.
I like what you're doing with that Baneblade I sent you. That's pretty awesome.
Yes, and I'm sending you my stupid freaking airbrush so you can fix it.
I have like 3 airbrushes coming in the mail.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
like-
I just I tried again. I cleaned it out really, really well. I don't know what the hell is the
Well,
deal.
I go back to work in 2 weeks.
Oh shit!
And
meant to mail it.
yeah,
already,
I go back to work in 2 weeks because I've been medically cleared to go back to work and drive trucks again.
Yeah.
But I've been off for 2.5 months, and everyone's like, "Oh, because of all the drama going on in my personal life, they're like, I'll just hold off sending them to you." And I was like, maybe I need the distraction.
I just haven't had freaking time to get to the mail to do.
Well, you're not the only one. Like, literally, I have someone
That's
sending
hilarious.
me an Infinity. I have someone sending me an Infinity to work on. Then your airbrush is coming in, and I think there was one other person who was supposed to be sending me their airbrush. And
Shit,
it's
I'm
just like-
sending you it tomorrow so you can do it first.
Well, I'm just going to troubleshoot them. If I don't know the answer, I'm just going to send it back and
Oh,
be
well,
like,
yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I don't know either. I really need it for the Baneblade base coat because it is such... I can do brushes on tanks, and I have done brushing of tanks a lot, but at the same time, I'm not doing the colors the way I normally do, which is kind of more of a dry brush technique where you layer up the metals, you know, and then I go over it with the particular, you know, whatever the hell my army color is. This thing is a beast. It's fucking huge.
It is big.
And I
It's
added
actually
to it.
For anyone who knows the Baneblade, the damn thing is actually taller than it's long now.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god. I actually wanted to add more missiles, but I decided not to. Because storage and transportability, I still want to keep it kind of, you know, movable.
Well, yeah, but the answer is to if you need more missiles is always yes.
Well, yes.
The magic missile, the darkness.
It's got, for those who haven't seen it, it's got 11 guns. Well, 11 guns and missiles. 11.
Maybe that's what I should use for the thumbnail.
It's not. You won't be able to see the damn thing though. It's just prime black. I managed to prime the fucker black, and that's it.
All right, send me your airbrush. Worst case scenario, I'll send you one of mine to use if I can't fix it.
Piece of shit. Anyway. Oh gosh.
So, if you have problems with your airbrush, please get a hold of Larry.
Apparently,
He takes payments
Oh.
made to Models Workshop.
Yeah.
$5 make you holla.
No, Larry, that's me. Because I have Clint working for me.
God,
Yeah, but I do like Chinese labor, like quality when it comes to fixing an airbrush.
We've seen your paint jobs. You do them there too.
Oh. Ouch.
Lately, yes.
Ouch.
Actually, I'm liking the way one of my pieces is turning out. I'm kind of intimidated about the next one I have planned, so I haven't really done too much with it. Mainly because I don't know how I'm going to go about getting the effect I want.
That sounds familiar. I've got a bunch of stuff sitting on my desk still that is ironically, actually, the Hexen Wraiths, or Hex Wraiths, rather, that my son wanted me to paint Ghostly from back.
I'm actually doing it.
And now I've got a frickin' bot of instant talent. I mean, paint. Yeah. Oh, God.
No, I actually sat down today and I started working on one of my competition pieces for ReaperCon. Because, it's only like a month and like a week away.
That is plenty of time.
And I have like 3 pieces planned right now at the very least.
Oh man. Okay, folks. I'm looking at the time schedule here and the timestamps. I think we should start wrapping things up.
Probably.
Yep. Oh, one last thing. I actually wanted to mention there is a gent on...
2 hours later?
No, it's not that long. If you're into weathering...
That's what she said.
And you really enjoy Rust, seriously, for terrain or for, whatever.
It's been long enough. I probably have Rust.
More like moss. Anyway, take...
Did Yeji send you the picture?
Oh my god! Jiminy Christmas! Anyway, oh god. So... I was trying to say, there's a guy on Twitter, who is putting together a shit ton of weathering pictures. Like real life reference pictures. He's under at Rictus40K, one word altogether, RICTUS 40K on Twitter. Check out his shit; it's awesome. I totally thought you said Erectus for a second. I'm like, what? No. Rictus.
Down boy.
No, I don't think Down Boy is where you want him at the moment, to be honest.
Maybe she does. But then the rest of the podcast would be like, oh, yes.
Well, you mean like the next minute because you wanted to wrap this up?
Well, if you can only go for a minute, that's fine, but that's beside the fact. That's between you and Yeji.
Oh, like my coworker always says.
1 minute still more than anybody else is getting in this damn podcast.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's a race, and whoever finishes first wins.
No. That's not how it works.
Okay,
Yes, but most races aren't 2 steps long, Clint.
Oh.
It's okay, I still finished first.
Oh.
If that's what you think, Yeji, you've never had a real orgasm.
Yet
Or has she?
Oh god. Oh my god.
And this is why we have an explicit rating and why we should be Models Workshop After Dark.
I told you After Dark. No one wanted it.
Well,
like,
if I had fucking been here, I would have said
reason why
After
it
Dark.
should be.
It was because we wanted minors to listen to this sometime.
Well, After Dark would have probably got more minors to listen to us.
This is very true.
We just didn't want it to sound like a fucking porn episode. We wanted to be a little more professional than that, and then we started talking, and it became clear really quickly that it should have been After Dark because effectively half of our podcast is a porn episode.
Yeah, pretty much.
But wasn't like our second or third episode the one with Laura?
Oh
Yeah.
god.
Second one, the money shot in
Yeah.
space.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh no, the 900.
Oh, no. That was number 2. It's 1-900 Talk Nerdy to me.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to go to bed soon.
And then number 3 was Money Shot in Space, I believe.
Oh
Yes.
my god.
Yeah, we started off really, really good, really early. And then we decided maybe we should make these more model-centric.
Yeah, well, we got complaints too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
but
like,
now we're just like, fuck the haters, whatever.
we tried the professional. It was boring. I mean, it's just like, wow. That's why we have just the facts, which I have 2 or 3 episodes of that recorded and edited and ready to go.
Well, and-
I am
and-
such a fucking slacker.
Folks, there are plenty of very good professional, I can think of at least probably 3 podcasts out there for modeling,
And we're not one.
No.
To be truthful, when it comes to actually modeling and painting, there's not many. There's a lot of gameplay, but we're kind of unique in the fact that we only talk about painting.
Well, I mean, like Geeks of the North to go over different models and stuff, and there's a couple.
I love my.
No, but they're Canadian. It's okay.
Hey, I love my guys over the Geeks of the North.
Oh, I know, I love their shit.
Oh no, I love them too. That's why I joke around.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying though. There's not a lot that have our draw.
Yeah, we have our painting. Okay, and this is not me floating my ego or anything else. One, I know people listen to us for the advice that everyone gives.
Eventually, we get around to
The little nuggets.
An hour, the little nuggets of knowledge that we actually drop in the podcast. But I also know for a fact there's a good portion of the people that listen to our podcast just because of our humor, because we make learning about painting fun. I know people who don't paint fucking miniatures who listens to our podcast because of the non-miniature content.
Oh shit, that's where I came from. That's where I came in here.
Right, and there's people who share. No, Andrew's messaged me, and he's like, "I love your podcast. It's great. It's fun to listen to. You guys make me laugh, and it's really great." But also, and he showed me pictures. Like, this is what I was painting at before I started listening to you guys, and this is what I'm painting at now, and it was a noticeable difference. And it's nice to know that we have that difference, but at the same token, here's the deal. Okay, I was in a funk. I've been in a funk for weeks now. And this is the best mood I've been in coming down and doing the podcast. If this was me, if Peter would be like, hey, let's record it just the facts, which is straight information. It's not exciting. It's not funny. It's not any of that stuff. I'd be like, nah, man, I'm done. But Yeji's like, hey, come on, let's do this bullshit. Let's talk. Let's have a good time. And let's see if you get in a better mood. And that right there is the reason why we've lasted almost 100 episodes now, is because we have fun. We enjoy ourselves.
We're hanging out.
Some episodes we may never talk about a single thing painting. We always try to, but sometimes we just get on a roll and we roll with it. And that's what keeps us coming back every week. It's simple as that. If y'all haven't realized that, if this was a straight technical podcast, this shit would have been over by episode 15.
Yeah.
Because we'd have gotten bored as fuck with it. So if you're enjoying this podcast, but you don't enjoy the off-branded humor and everything else, but you do enjoy the nuggets of good information that we give you, then read to the fact that the reason we're still here is because of the shitty humor. I love helping people. I love giving advice. I love answering questions. But I also enjoy dropping a good dirty joke and having a laugh even more. And I love hanging out with my friends even more.
Well, and if you got something that's just all information, it simply becomes work. And it's the same thing with doing models.
Exactly. I don't get paid for this. None of us get paid for this. None of us has ever gotten paid for this. Yeah, we've received a couple free models here and there, and we've got some review copies of stuff, but we don't get paid to do this. This is all voluntary. We have done this for 100 episodes, folk, at an average of 2 hours an episode. Over 3 years.
That's really been 3 years.
Yep.
Oh, God.
I looked at my history today because I was wondering when we bought the microphone. And it's,
wow.
We started back when we were up in Mesquite, too. So, yeah, it's been over 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. We've been doing this for 3 years, folks, and we're still going strong. We're still going strong. So if you don't like the potty humor as much, suck it up, Cupcake, because that's what keeps us coming back. But with that being said, thank you for joining us for this episode of Models Workshop After Hours, where we are always going to be dirty and make you laugh, probably laugh a lot at ourselves, because that's the type of people we are, where we can sit there and go, ha, you dumb shit, you broke your leg because you thought you were 14 again.
We love you.
Go, gadget jump boots. But
and look out for some Twitches that are coming soon from Clint and myself. We'll be hosting it through Models Workshop as well, but mainly have it through our other page, our actual studio page, Snickernack Studios.
And also...
And he'll be doing...
Oh, go ahead.
He'll be doing some Night Haunt. I'll be doing some Sisters of the Thorn here really soon. And we'll be doing a bunch of chibi stuff, because I love chibi.
Yeah, and most of my painting studio, with the exception of maybe my shells, will be coming upstairs. Part of the reason I haven't been doing a lot of painting, not only is it the funk, but it actually is physically painful to get down here. And I've been through enough pain in the last 3 months. Like right now, my ankle is fucking killing me. But so I try not to put myself through more. So once I get the studio moved upstairs, I got to clear a space off for that. Hopefully you'll see my productivity shooting up too, because then I can actually, I have no excuse of I'm sitting watching TV, because I can sit and watch TV while I paint.
Yes.
But anyways, folks, thank you for joining us. It really does mean a lot. If you enjoy us, seriously, drop us a message. Say, hey guys, we like what you do, because that gives us the motivation. You can head over...
We don't bite much.
And you'll probably like it. But you can head over to facebook.com/The Models Workshop and send us a message there. We will reply, except for the one guy who told me he wanted me to rant. I realized I don't think any of us ever replied to him. Sorry, we saw it. I just was in a shitty mood that day, which has been kind of normal. But probably surprised the shit out of you. Didn't bitch as much as you probably wanted me to. He's probably shaking his head in disappointment now.
Actually, you went the exact opposite. You kind of defended Simon, which was interesting.
I defended the game and their pledge levels, but I am not defending Simon. I still think it's horrible to the fact that they're utilizing Kickstarter as a pre-order system, but me as a human, I just need to realize that everybody is. It's not Cool Mini by itself, literally. And I have backed in the last 6 months 3 different IDW Kickstarters. So at this point, it's kind of hypocritical of me to go after Simon.
Shut up, Reggie!
I looked at that. I was sitting there going, the last 3 Kickstarters I backed were IDW or partially IDW. And the next Kickstarter in October that I'm planning on backing is also IDW. No, like, in October, there's already a Kickstarter coming out that I know for a fact I'm backing. So it's like...
Okay, bye!
Yeah, 2 hours later. 12 minutes later. All right, folks. Yeah, you know how to reach us. Check the doobly-doo to figure it out. If not, have a fun time. Catch you in a couple weeks. You're probably going to... This will probably be the 3rd episode of Models Workshop After Hours that you're going to get in a week. Sorry, I'm a slacker. And I never have it any time.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us for another great episode of Models Workshop After Hours, your one-stop podcast for laughs and great painting advice. We come out at least every other week, barring emergencies and holidays, of course, covering a wide variety of hobby topics and basically talking about life in general. When you're not listening to us through your favorite podcatcher, you can find the entire crew hanging out at facebook.com/The Models Workshop. That's all one word smushed together, sharing all the cool things that we find floating around the internet and giving out painting advice. You can also find Larry on Twitter and Instagram at MWAH Podcast, and Yeji and Clint the same at Snickernack, which is NICKERNACK. If you like what we do, please make sure to drop a quick review on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or whatever service you listen to us on. This helps us out greatly and gets the word of the After Hours out to everyone. If you want to make a donation to help us out, you can at paypal.me/Models Workshop, or you can do a monthly service at patreon.com/Models Workshop. Once again, thank you for listening. Until next time, grab those brushes, paints, and get to painting.